Welcome, welcome, welcome aboard, everyone. It is time. It is that time again. It's Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard, and that means it's time for the Wild Weird Radio with your normal crew. I'm Ron. That's Joe. Nah, it's Brandon over there on the side. And I'm really dehydrated, so I'm drinking liquid IV. It is
I've got
not
my bean juice.
Yep. It is
So-
I'm not saying what's in
nights.
mine.
There's always one.
So it is a privilege to be back. I'm stoked to be back on the show. I know I had to miss out last week, but I was here in spirit somewhere on the ethereal plane.
He was
glad
in
to
my
be
head. Y'all got to watch
So-
tomorrow night's episode. You'll understand that inside joke. Trust me, it's a good one. It's a good one.
All right, let's do our rundown. We've got Bigfoot Littlefoot in the house.
Bigfoot,
The
Littlefoot.
Deuster is in the
Good.
house, liked and shared. Also, he is proud to be a wild weirdo. Heck yeah, man. Then we got Scott
Yeah, I want to hear
Holbrook.
all of our wild, and weird weirdos and weirdettes out there. Let's hear them. Come on, y'all.
That's Scott Holbrook. Hey, y'all.
There you go. Scott's
Then
got it.
We got Teresa Racer says, hi, everybody. Sorry I missed last week. It was my kid's birthday. Hey, we get it. I
Go
missed
back
last
and
week.
go back
Technically.
and catch the replay. It is absolutely fantastic. It was a good episode, right, Brandon?
Oh, it was fun. Yep.
It was a real fun episode.
We got the executive producer,
Adam.
Adam Good, in the house. Lisa Beard is with us again this week.
Welcome.
We've got Shane Lorison in the house.
Made
We've
it just in
got-
time.
I think I got it.
Did you get it?
Spooky is here.
Oh yeah.
We've got Tommy Swigger.
Hey Tommy.
We've got Larry Hose is in the house. We've got like all these
Larry.
people who are normally late to the show coming in on time this week. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, thanks guys for being here.
Hey, Ashley Hilt's in the house.
Ashley.
Hey, hi, hello.
There you go. They're cool. They're kinder, gentler. You might be. Welcome, guys.
The PR principal
Cheers.
took them over.
Cheers to you guys.
Chris Coots is in the house.
Chris, what up?
Everybody, this is going to be a good show. Coincidentally, the Men in Black show up for this episode
I don't
as
know
we're
where
about
they
to
were.
talk about the experiencers.
Well, they're just
this
trying
week.
to get names, so it's all good.
They are. If you have any weird phone calls that show up as unrecognized, well,
It's
If
on
a
you.
black SUV shows up at your house.
Well, that could be, me. But anyway, you guys, seriously, I get that. All right, so I don't know. We got like 20 some people here. Hit your shares, because really this is going to go out to everybody. I mean this for real. It's a fun episode, but it's
Yeah.
also going to be a serious episode.
We're handling a serious
Yeah.
topic lightheartedly.
Yeah, we're going to. And
Yes.
I think we need to do this. We've done this at our shows. We've seen how many people have experiences. We've seen how many people who don't say anything. That's what this show is about. I don't know how many of you guys watched the recent Netflix thing that just came on there yesterday, Encounters. You
Oh,
watched
it was
right,
great.
Joe?
I finished it late last night. I
Yeah, I
started it
watched it.
early. I
Mhm.
started it early yesterday, and I got through the school ordeal,
Yeah.
and then I finished up the last 2 episodes last night.
Yep, I finished them up last night. Fantastic episodes, and I love this series. I hope they do more. That's all I can say. They really touch on some things that really no one else is touching on. We've touched on it. But if you
Yeah.
watch this show, you'll be like, wow, hey, this sounds familiar.
Right.
A lot of that is what we've touched on. But one of the things that they really touched on that I thought was fantastic was the aerial school, and they also touched on the one in was the UK, right? The
Yes.
triangle thing, right?
The triangle.
And
yeah.
what is important about those is the fact that these people who said that they had not seen anything came out later on and said, well, we did see something, but we just didn't tell anyone. Okay. And we've heard this before. We heard this with was Fife, right? Governor Fife down in when the Phoenix Lights flew over. So he's like, oh yeah, you're all crazy, and he makes fun of the whole thing. And then secretly,
Over a
he's seen
decade later,
something.
comes clean.
Yeah. So this happens, and so share this out, get this out there to everyone, because I guarantee you or someone has had a sighting. It may not be a UFO, maybe a Bigfoot, could be a paranormal phenomena of some sort. Tony, It could be anything, honestly, and you just have it, and you're not telling anyone. Well, I did that. I did it for like you know me. There's still stuff I haven't told, but I'm telling it slowly. But 25 years or longer on some of these things. I mean, some of it's even longer than that. But the more we get it out, the more the dominoes fall, and that's the key. That's what it's all about. What are you two doing? But yeah, so yeah, get it shared out, and
Yeah,
we're going
because this
to
is going to be a really good
have
one to
this
have people
conversation.
in the comments,
Yeah,
and
this is
and
your show.
actually engaging back and forth, because
Yeah.
we're going to do what we always do, especially with presentations and stuff, which is where we gauge the folks who have had strange encounters in their life against how many people they've told, and then where if they even reported it.
We're in pretty good company here, I think. A lot of these.
Oh yeah,
folks,
with the crew that's in here now, like
Mhm.
half of them were at the
Yeah.
workshop, so I know they've
Exactly.
had weird
They've
crap
had
happen.
experiences, they've seen stuff, and they know that they're safe in numbers. And
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. It really is about that. I know we joke about stuff and whatnot, but this is a serious topic, so we want to take it very serious. Don't ever just discount someone outright if they say they've seen something. I mean, it's one thing to give them an idea of what they have seen. Hey, Angie, of what they may have seen. Okay, you could have seen Starlink. Wonderful. If you did, wonderful. If you didn't, then we're still listening to you. I mean, it's up to us to prove it one way or the other, even if we can.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be saying, "Oh, you didn't see anything." And what really disturbed me though was on these aerial school when they absolutely said, "Thank you, thank you. We'll try to keep giving you as much info as possible."
that's the goal. That's the goal.
But what really got me was how they literally told them, "You didn't see this." And all those teachers got together, and that was behind the scene footage I had not seen before. When Dr. Mike was standing there, telling them, basically, he was scolding them. If you watch that, I mean, he's like, "Why are you not listening to these kids?" "Oh, well, these kids make up things." Yeah, kids make up things. Shocking. They do that, guys.
So
But
do adults.
I've talked to kids before who have had some really strange things and said some strange things that they should not have said, that they don't even understand what that is. So where did that knowledge come from? They didn't watch it on TV, because that's not really something that's in that kind of detail. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So these things happen. That's why you just can't write off I don't want to believe it, so it can't be true.
And
But
to another aspect of this whole phenomenon, there are people who have security clearances or have professional jobs that require what would be considered competencies and certain levels of, I guess you would say, just certain levels of professionalism and respect would have to go along with that role. And if any of that respect is lost, then you lose some of the qualifiers for that job. And a lot of people who have had these experiences, they have security clearances. They've got jobs at police departments, sheriff's office, fire departments.
your audio is just garbled completely. Try it now.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So they have jobs at these, police departments, fire departments, medical professionals. They have security clearances in the military, things of that nature. And that's just, they're afraid to come forward. And they have been afraid. Now they're less afraid now because there have been actions put in place to protect them.
Now,
But that's only for UFOs.
that's right. And let's just go back 10 years ago. Was that the case then? No, it wasn't.
It
Because
wasn't.
there's been this
Even in 2017, when the leak took place,
Right.
there wasn't any protections. These protections did not exist. And again, these protections only pertain to witnesses of UFOs
as of right now.
as of what, 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
Right. I mean, it really only started, honestly, when what was the Navy, right? When the Navy, yeah, that was it. The Navy guidelines, right?
Yeah.
And that was back in 2019, 2019, I think. Yeah, it was in 2019. When they decide, yeah, we're going to start, listening to you guys. We want to hear all your stories. Well, they were still making fun of them. I mean, it didn't matter. And we heard not too long ago in the report from on Congress, the commercial pilots were told not to speak publicly about UFOs. They'd lose their jobs. I mean, we even talked to a pilot at the festival, remember?
Yep.
And he, he saw stuff, but he wasn't about to get into it. He just, yeah, I've seen things.
Yeah.
That's
and they
it.
won't get into it because their jobs are not protected. Again, because they are commercial. They're not at the federal level. Really, the only people who have these protections currently are people who work at the federal level.
It's true.
And Mr. Cato brings up a good point. Are we not talking about Dulce, New Mexico anymore?
Ooh.
That would be something I would love to see someone come forward at this point, now that there are those protections, to help. At
this point, yes or no is what we want to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. At this point, yes or no. Because, the whole thing about New Mexico, it's pretty clear, regardless if Dulce was 100% or if Dulce was one of those lie sandwiches, like I like to call it, where there's a little truth in there and there's embellishments and things to discredit it, because that goes into this as well. That's what we're talking about. It isn't that they would just outright tell you, yeah, you didn't see it. It's that people would come out, these disinformation specialists would come out and be like, nah, it's this, and they start muddying the water. Case in point, look at some of the world famous debunkers like Philip Plass. I mean, he made a living off of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are others.
D's in the house. How you doing? So Lisa Beard says, I saw something as a teen. A bright light zoomed across the sky and it came to a dead stop behind a cloud.
Wow.
It never came out the other side. And in that, we were on a mountain in the middle of 3 power plants.
There it is.
And that's something else that we've also, and several other researchers have drawn connections between, is power plants, weapons facilities, and these strange lights in the sky.
Lisa, you're spot on with the data right there. Absolutely. Do you remember anything else after that? Any sightings after that? Anything that may have happened afterwards that was weird or strange in any way? That's another thing that a lot of these people absolutely.
Peer pressure. Share your story.
I mean, I'll share a story later on. Sure, why not? You're in good company. I don't really care anymore because, to me, I think you've heard me at my presentations now. Joe's heard it a million times. I don't care, and I think he's starting to get to that point too. I don't care if you believe me. I don't think he cares if you believe him. The data doesn't care either, right, Joe?
Yep, the data does not care about your feelings, your beliefs, or your preconceived notions.
It really doesn't. It's not going to change anything. You believing a account will not change anything. That's why it absolutely boggles my mind how much energy that people like Class used to put into debunking these things. It's like, don't believe it. I'll challenge you. Here's $1,000 that says this didn't happen. Why do you really need to control people so much? Why does it hurt you what someone else believes?
Yeah, exactly.
D says, I saw something in South Fork in 1989, a craft above my bedroom window, no sound, completely stationary.
There you go. And I could ask another series of questions probably, and we could probably find out more about that, but I'll guarantee you there are tons of people who have had these experiences. They just write them off as weird dreams, but they know something's different. They know something's off. It's kind of like what I've talked about before. You knew something was off. It's just not quite right. And then all these little coincidences and synchronicities that kind of match into it all. There's just something there. You can't deny it.
Okay, Mr. Cato says, do you think the movie No One Will Save You on Hulu is a preview of how Project Bluebeam will happen? Well, we, again, follow the data. And we're not perpetuators of the Bluebeam propaganda. There's when it comes to Bluebeam, a lot of the times you're dealing with a whole lot of political jargon, and believe me, I do think that if the government had the capability to do something like that, that they probably would. But being government issue myself, I know they're not, like, some of the stuff they're capable of would be mind blowing. Okay, but when it comes to what it would take to pull off blue beam, we did an episode a few months back on the whole topic, and we reviewed the data. We looked at where the source material for blue beam came from.
It's real. That
And because it was real, it was real concept.
Yeah,
but
please don't think that we're saying, oh,
yeah,
it could never ever in a million years happen. Of course it could happen. There's bad people in the world.
Yep.
Will it happen the way it was written? No, because that was someone's belief system that they wrote down.
It was, and then it was infused with political and religious propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda.
And you know, mind you, its original phase in its original thought process was to, you know, display images of Muhammad and Saddam Hussein and other icons up in the sky.
Well, it literally wrote itself.
Yeah, it did. And then it went.
The theory wrote itself.
It did. It really did. But to pull that off, what would be required would be visible. It would be visible from space. Like that's how large it would have to be. But
I think you could do it a lot easier at this point, honestly. But I think the one problem is, Cato, is that, and this disturbs me more than anything, more than even the theory of blue beam or any of that, is that when I was growing up, we always thought, you know, possibility of alien contact. You know, this was, you know, a thing. And then as I got older, I kept seeing the next generations where our generation was still like, yeah, aliens, it's possible. All of a sudden now it all happened pretty much through, I think it was like the 90s is when it all shifted to this paranoia.
Yeah.
And that's not a coincidence, because this is when you had books written by Commander X. This is when you had, you know, go back and look at some of those old UFO magazines. You'll see where a lot of this started.
You will.
And these guys were getting rich off of paranoia. That continued, by the way. That continued. Now, here's the problem I have with that. Instead of us saying, you know, we're going to possibly make contact with extraterrestrials or extra dimensionals, whatever, now all of a sudden the paranoid has set in. The paranoia has set in. All the paranoids have gone nuts, and they believe these charismatic leaders, these authors, these film stars, these documentary, creators. And because it sells, guys, I'm not going to tell you it doesn't sell.
I mean, just look at, for example, these Rapture books.
This is what I'm getting at. This sells. So
fear sells.
Yeah. What was it? Left Behind series. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was around the same time, by the way. But that was around the same time.
It was.
Started.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting at is there was a huge paradigm shift at this point. And now all of a sudden we, instead of have possibility of aliens, we have either demons or we have it's going to be fake. It's going to be a fake invasion.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, that is, you got to go look it up for yourself. I'm not going to give you all of it. You got to go do it yourself. You can watch some of our videos. There's a links there. You can believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I don't care. But I am going to tell you that if you are interested in that subject, it is very deep down the rabbit hole. Yeah. And it goes back like into the 1930s, if that tells you anything.
And to be like completely honest, like it's not like we don't have any kind of political affiliations, so to speak. We don't have, so we're not trying to crush it because of one reason or another.
Let me find that for Tony. He just asked for the link.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I was going to pop that up in a second. I'm just still finishing up addressing this.
It was a live we did.
I think it was part of a live, but we've also done it on episodes. It's Bluebeam's popped up on multiple episodes.
Yeah.
But the live, I think, was dedicated.
Well, we used to not discuss it. No, there's a section in the live where we go into like these theories and whatnot, and that was part of it. So I'm going to go look for that.
Hey, Nancy, how you doing?
You guys ask your questions.
Tony, he's going to find you the link. He's working on that now. But you know, we don't have any kind of a political affiliation. We don't have any kind of love either for the government, for that matter. And so, we do believe that there is nefarious stuff going on. We're
Go back
not.
and watch the MK Ultra
Yeah.
episode. I mean, that'll
Yeah,
blow your mind. You want to see something
we
that's
actually
really
did
real.
a big deep dive on the CIA document release that they did a little over a year ago, and there's so much there that they came out and they said was going to that never happened, and it was never going to be a thing. And well, it was a thing, come to find out, and it was a very big thing. Speaking of very big things, Ada Cox, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
I didn't even see it. I just heard the sound.
So-
I'm over here in another screen looking for this.
So Shane
episode.
Lorson says, "Can I get a brief explanation of Blue Beam? Essentially,
Oh, God.
what Blue Beam is
yeah.
and this is Campbell's Ultra Condensed. This is going to be a thing where there is a fake alien invasion staged for
Well,
a
there's
new
actually-
world order government.
There's 5 steps, and that's the final step.
Yeah. The final step, the
Yeah.
big culmination.
New World Order.
When they talk about Blue Beam, the big thing somebody's talking about is the invasion and the New World Order taking the stage and everything going.
Well, it's not just the New World Order now. I mean, they're setting it up for the Antichrist. So got to tell
Right.
the story the right way.
Right. Yeah. It's like I said, religious propaganda and other stuff.
You guys
know.
ever seen The Stand? Right.
Oh,
The
yeah.
original
Mhm.
movie, The Stand.
Yeah.
Read the book too.
Okay. Well, it's nothing like that.
All right.
I had to do
See,
that.
the plot
I'm
is
sorry.
not nearly as good as The Stand.
Oh God, no.
It's
Yeah, no,
about,
it's
more
really-
like Left Behind than The Stand.
There's so many holes in the Blue Beam stuff that like it wouldn't make it.
Yeah, especially when you start
Someone say
comparing that
yes,
to-
someone did, and he came.
Especially
It
if you
was
compare
fun.
that to like the Book of Revelation.
Haunted World
Tommy says,
Contact.
I like my
Different
story
rabbit
about NIST.
Was it the World Contact one? Maybe. I don't know.
It might have been World Contact. It could have. It's
I know it's in the thing, the description. It's not that one.
Hey, Mr. Cato, thank you. Appreciate you hanging with us, man.
I noticed that all that Project Bluebeam
Lisa
stuff
Beard
started.
said best movie ever on just to be like, dashed at the end.
Yes.
A lot of that Bluebeam stuff started popping up after everybody started saying it was going to be a false invasion. And all of that started after everybody was saying that every tragic event was a false flag incident.
Well, that
So it
all
was
really
like-
got kicked off in 2020 because of, paranoia. And paranoia
Yeah.
grew. And, was it Into Your Life It Will Creep? Wait, now I'm going to start singing. Sorry.
Well, and the thing is, man, is like so many of these conspiracy theories were not really conspiracy theories.
No.
That's the thing, and that's what led to this level of distrust, and which I mean, there's a whole lot more that led to the level of distrust. Let's be completely real.
Well, look at it like
But
this. Aliens.
The conspiracy theories being true did not help.
Bingo.
Mhm.
That's what I'm getting at. So now you can see why people are like, hey, maybe this Blue Beam thing maybe there's something to this.
So
Maybe-
Bigfoot Littlefoot says it's safe to say there are government workers that only handle a small part of a project and don't know they're part of a big deep black project. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. And one of a good friend of ours that we made, and I call him a good friend, but we only spent a weekend with him, but it was enough to become really good acquaintances, good friends with him, was Mr. Friedman, Terry Friedman, Stanton Friedman. And he was part of those small black projects that he was just a cog in the wheel. And then once his part worked, it was no longer a project anymore. And it went away and it went on to something bigger. Yeah, Shane Lorison, good Lord, maybe I shouldn't have asked. Yeah, it can be a stretch.
Thanks, Shane.
But it's a very serious topic. And like, there are people who are fully committed to this theory and they can't be separated from it regardless what kind of data you show them.
But it's fine. I mean, I don't really care. Like, again,
Yeah.
what you believe or what you don't. But when you ask a question, this is the data, and we're going to present that data. You don't have to believe it. I don't care. But it's there, and you can go look at it and, choose to do what you want with it. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to change anyone's mind because,
Pat's got a good shirt idea.
What's that?
It's on the screen.
I can't see.
Oh, it says it's nothing like that. Ron, 2023.
I like it. We're doing it. All right.
Somewhere in an alternative universe, Sky Daddy Kirk Cameron sheds a tear.
Oh no. Man, man.
Oh, good grief.
We should have that pop up every time we talk about religious propaganda.
Mr. Cato says, so is the movie The Mist a link to the CERN project? And
well, Stephen King said that he had that idea after there was a really thick fog that rolled through Maine one morning, and he thought it would be strange if something. Yeah, he thought it would be really strange if something just walked out of that fog, and that was where the idea came from.
Yeah. But now you want to talk about CERN? CERN has got some weird stuff.
If you read the novella version, though, it does talk about the military being responsible for it because they start rallying in town right before all that stuff breaks loose.
Yep.
But he doesn't say exactly what it was in the book, though. Never got that far.
Pat says it's probably more like the plot of The Road. No, not here.
Wait, I think I found it. I found it. It's in.
Which one was it?
It's in UFO Invasion ? A special report. You'll find it back here. I'll get the thing here for you. But it's actually, you can fast forward. It's one that I actually did the chapters for, so you can.
Oh, so it's broken up in blocks, so you can actually go straight.
Yeah, it's back when I had some time. I could do things like that.
Those days are about to return.
Well, I mean, you could do that, but it's all good.
If you want to read his best book about screwing up a timeline, though, read 11/22/63.
There we go.
That's a great book.
That is not how you count.
No, it's not. It's totally not how you count.
All right, Tony, your link is there in the comments now, buddy.
I'm back. I can see everything again. I couldn't see you all before. It was like you were all gone. I could hear you, like your voices were there, but you were gone. And you were like spirits in my head.
The spirits in my head.
That's all gonna make sense after tomorrow night, I promise.
Yeah, tomorrow's episode is gonna be a fun one. You guys will enjoy it because we have entered into spooky season.
It really is. Yeah, it's the fourth spooktacular.
Yes,
it's something we've been doing for years now. And
Wild and Weird Spooktacular numero cuatro.
You'll get to see that, and there's gonna be some good episodes too. I know we're gonna have some special guestesses in there, and ghostesses too. Spooky, just don't ask questions.
This is what's the YouTube studio link for? Where were you? Did you get abducted by your kids again?
He got abducted.
Pat says, yeah, Ron has regained his sight. A Sky Daddy Matthew McConaughey miracle. Yes.
He is good.
Lisa is excited about spooky season being here. Yeah, so what we do during our spooktacular is we read off spooky stories, but we also talk about some other stuff. And if we can get around to them, if anybody in the audience has some spooky stories they would like to share, you can go ahead and drop those in the comments. We'll read those off too.
Or better still, you can come on and tell them yourself. We had Adam do that first time too.
Please tell me you guys have shirts because I'm from weird Washington State. Hey, awesome. Okay. You wouldn't be the guy that does the Weird Washington podcast, would you? Because I've actually listened to that podcast quite a few times. But yeah, we do have shirts. It's if you go to wildandweirdwv.com, you can click on the shop tab, and it takes you off to the TeePublic and Redbubble websites, and you can pick from some shirts there.
Yeah, most of the good ones are in TeePublic. I pretty much put everything over there now. So, guys,
Spooky said my daughter tried to nosedive off a couch. Mine yesterday. Yeah.
That's amazing. Probably thought
try to pull a Jeff Hardy.
Right.
There was a portal there, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So one of the things about the the series that was on, I don't know if you caught it or not, but one of the guys they were interviewing, did you happen to catch him, the naval officer?
Oh wait. It was in the 6th episode, right? He was the opener.
No, he was in I think the first episode.
Oh,
Matthew
you're talking about the
Roberts.
opening scene where he's
Yeah,
talking
Matthew
about.
Roberts. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and he was present when they were, they were actually.
And
I guess
he's the one that had the hitchhiker effect.
he watched. Yep, he watched the gimbal video. He said basically these. I don't know what to explain it to you guys. It looks like a saucers, and then they turned up on their sides. There's
What's up,
another
Patrick?
weird thing. But his story was that, like you said, after observing this, he goes on to have his own experience, his own encounter, and that is pretty amazing if you really think about the data set that's there, because he had such an emotional response. If you watched it, I mean, he's kind of breaking down while he's telling that story. It's a very emotional response, and this is also how you can kind of tell if you're dealing with someone who's actually had one of these experiences, because they do tend to have this weird breakdown when they're trying to tell it for the first time, especially. No, D, you're probably just normal. It's all good. For real, I'm not joking.
We call that the beacon effect.
It's normal.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not the
Once-
hitchhiker effect for us. It's a beacon, and we all attract each other.
Once you begin experiencing these weird phenomena and these strange phenomena one time, it's almost like a torch gets lit, and other things know that you are paying attention, and so you begin to experience other strange phenomena.
And you meet
Oh,
other
yeah.
people who do the same, and they validate.
Mhm.
To me, I think honestly, people ask me all the time. I think it's about validation. I think that this is an intelligence that is at work, and it is trying to say, "Hey, look, you're not crazy. This is really happening. Oh, do you need a little proof? Let me give you a little proof." And then you have a total stranger that you meet on the street walk up to you and finish a sentence that you have in your head. Now, that's happened, by the way. And that's, I mean, this is common. This is, it's one of those things.
Pat says, I'm hoping to watch real life play out in the story form Arrival this fall. Man, I watched that movie yesterday, oddly enough.
So anyone got any questions? Because we're just going to kind of, I'm going to pop up.
Maltby Cemetery in Washington State is a really haunted place. Well, tell us something about
it,
it. Tell us a
Kato.
little bit about it.
Let's hear
We'll read it out. Just got back from the Missouri Bigfoot conference, or Missouri. I don't know why I said Missouri.
I don't
But
know. Either.
Patrick, fill us in. Let us know how it went. What was some highlights? Shane Lorsa said, "I'm scared of the dark, for real."
Really?
You're probably sitting in the dark,
Why
watching
are
us
you,
on your screen.
How long have you been afraid of the dark, Shane? Just curious.
That was one of my favorite shows as a kid. Are you afraid of the dark?
That was such a good show.
Oh, no.
Never really been afraid of the dark. I used to go out and, I did a lot of astronomy, so a lot of nights out there, staring at the sky.
They actually have a podcast now that just launched, and it has new stories written by authors.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
I have to check that out. See, like,
Not me. I'm not promoting myself this time.
Oh, okay.
I've never really been scared of the dark. I have a eye condition that is hyperphoto sensitivity. So the dark is never really like super, super dark for me unless I'm like indoors in the dark, and that like, but I'm still not scared of the dark.
I think
Tommy Swigger says, I've been sharing my experience of the paranormal and Bigfoot encounters on a group in Facebook. It helps me get it off my chest. It's a good place to start. It is. That is a good place to start. Just, you got to have some thick skin with dealing with some of these Facebook groups.
Yeah, that's why I love our group. In 5 years, we've had maybe like
3 or 4.
6 instances total that I can think of where we actually had, a troll or something like that we had to get rid of.
Oh, you went camping with Shane Carpenter. That's awesome. Did you guys get anything good? Patrick went out when he was at the Missouri conference there.
That's cool.
Lisa Beard says, spooky. I started watching that video. I need to go back and watch it again. Yeah, you do. He needs all the hours he can get.
Mm-hmm.
So Shane says, since childhood, but I don't like that I can't see my surroundings.
Gotcha.
That's a primal
Anything
thing.
else that you can remember? Anything other weird things, possibly that you can
Me
think
and
about?
Adam are in the same boat.
Oh yeah, I much prefer nighttime.
Pat says, I'm not afraid of the dark, just the Legos hiding in it.
Yeah, oh god.
Yeah.
I'm not even afraid of the Legos hiding in the dark. I'm afraid of the Legos hiding in broad daylight that are taupe collared on my carpet
Broke
or
my toe
brown
twice
on the
on
hardwood
Legos.
floor
It's never
Mhm.
fun. It's not fun.
that I should be able to see but can't. So D used to be afraid of the dark, but I'd hit the light switch and launch myself across the room into my bed. If I get in my sheets quick enough, they can't get me. Shane says I'm 44 years old and I still run to the bed when I turn the light off.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, honestly, I know this is another thing I'm kind of dealing with this. A lot of people who have experiences, whatever they may be, even if they don't recall them fully, they are essentially suffering from a form of PTSD.
Yeah.
And it may be a subconscious form of PTSD. You may not even know you
Yep.
have it, and you're exhibiting these symptoms. I know this because that's exactly what happened to me over the years. And it's when you start understanding it, you start seeing it in other people, and you realize, my God, we're normal. I'm just going to tell you, experiencers are 100% normal. It's everyone else I worry about at this point. Adam, I remember seeing a craft during an abduction. Yeah.
You know, people who
Alright,
don't
so-
experience things are scare me just as much as people who say they don't dream. Like those people freak me out. Like
My
people tell
wife
me they
says
don't
she
have
doesn't
dreams. What?
Yeah, and I dream like 10, 15 a night that I remember. They all get
Yeah.
crammed together, but
That
yeah,
just weirds
Kelly-
me out. Like
Kelly's weird.
Cato.
So Cato says, going to the cemetery, it's supposed to be owned by a certain family, and if you go there, you're supposed to be in an area called the 13 Steps to Hell. That okay? Anything like that's spooky. Okay, so it says Lego Schmego step on a D4 die just once. That's bad.
oh
times,
god, I did that too. It went right in my foot. Oh,
that's bad times. Like you just gotta pray to God that the corners are rounded and not pointy.
oh, the one it was pointy.
D says, Shane, I'm willing to bet you can sense paranormal things. That's why you're so scared.
It's very possible.
Tommy, the dark is a whole other world for critters and creatures. It is, and
really
it's
is.
actually one of my favorite times to go out and do nature hikes. For anybody who's new, I'm a certified master naturalist, and I do stuff with the DNR. One of those things being leading night hikes and things. And one of my favorite hikes to do is the after dark hike, because that's when the forest really comes to life.
What are you doing? Digging for gold? Oh no,
my
he's
D&D
got
dice.
dice.
Yeah, look at these metal ones. Imagine stepping on one of these.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Nah, I'm good, man.
Imagine
Oof.
Ugh.
So Pat says, my brother wasn't afraid of the dark until he watched Silence of the Lambs.
Oh,
Was he afraid of wine, particularly Chianti, after that as well?
tell
8
him to stay
o'clock's
off
run.
Shudder.
Nancy and I bought a Native American flute. I can't wait to learn to play like you did on the Bigfoot workshop.
That's awesome. I still have mine.
Spooky said he just checked his hours. He's got 678 hours left to get there.
She's right here.
Shane says, I doubt that I have cool superpowers like that, but it'd be pretty awesome. Oh, no. Deucer brings up another bad one. You remember the ball and jacks game? Legos can't hold a candle to step
yeah, I
in on a
remember
metal
that.
jack.
Oh yeah, man. Oh.
So when I was younger, I stepped on a plastic jack, and it snapped off in my heel. That was pain. My grandma and my grandpa held me down to dig it out of my foot, and it was so bad.
Yeah, that's not good, man.
I remember when I was like, I was in my early 20s, and my palm started itching really bad, and I looked down, and there was a piece of lead that was buried under my flesh that just randomly popped out.
So Pat says most people with PTSD don't know they have it. They blame their problems on other things or they downplay it.
Yep.
Bingo. Exactly. And I'd like to give, credit where credit's due. Pat actually helped me a lot when it came to trying to understand some of that stuff, especially not with not with aliens, by the way. I'm okay with that. This was with other things, horrible work environments and so forth and so on in the past. And he really helped me a lot with that. So he's my go-to guy when I got to talk about things like that, and spirits in my heads, and when I need a computer upgrade. I swear, you guys, watch tomorrow night's
It's gonna be
regular
a fun one.
podcast. You'll understand the spirits in my heads, and you'll be like, he's okay. This makes
Tommy said
perfect
it's
sense.
definitely true about the Facebook groups, as I went through probably 20 groups where I found the right one
Yeah,
where
man.
people don't criticize you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, that's fact. We're very proud of our group because that's how it works. We patrol that thing constantly, and I got to be saying, I'm so proud of the people we have. We have like 4,000 members or something over there now, and do you know they're all very, very good people. I mean, you can't have that, and it's not
So-
because we run around with a banhammer. It's because they actually respect each other.
They do. But they're also terrified of me creeping around with the band hammer. So Angie says, why do you think more paranormal things happen at night? My honest opinion, because more people look for it at night. We have actually observed the opposite because a lot of the times Ron and I are doing our work during daylight hours. So we record a lot of data during the day. Most people go out to do paranormal stuff, particularly ghost hunting or things of that nature. They do it after dark, and they I don't know why. Probably just because it puts them in the.
It's quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet, but it's also quiet in a shut down building during the day.
No, not if
I
you're
think
in-
what it is too is that people are
Not
just
yet. I mean,
busier
not if you're
during
near an
the day.
interstate, but
Exactly. And there's a lot less traffic, which means there's a lot less interference on radio, receiving kind of equipment, EMFs, spectrum analyzers, all that stuff. So you do have a lot less. And there was a guy at up at Kecksburg, he was talking about this. He believes that at night it has to do with, well, especially up on the Chestnut Ridge area, that there was he thinks that it has to do with the radio station that's up there. At night, the radio station seems to change directions or something. It gets more powerful, and that's when people seem to have these experiences. This would also fall into some of the
I can tell you exactly what happens there. A buddy of mine I've got several friends of mine worked in radio, and at night, whenever all the regulators are off the clock, you've got your nighttime broadcasters who go out there and they crank up the amperage and boost the signal out there farther. So it would increase your signal strength.
It does, and he believes, and so do I, that we've said this before. I think that frequency is a key to a lot of this stuff, and you're going to get a lot more movement of that in when there's broadcasts like that. Like it makes a perfect soup, I think, sort of. And as for nighttime, look at it. I mean, a lot of your equipment, night vision equipment, etc. Not just night vision, but full spectrum. You're going to catch more at night than you will in the broad daylight with a full spectrum camera. And
Right.
It's just it's common.
It's just how it works.
It's just how it works. And who knows if we're not dealing with maybe solar radiation does something. Maybe it can't coexist with solar radiation. So there's all kinds of these little things that we can throw science at and say,
you can't
maybe.
you can't rule out the fact that we've recorded a ton of data while the sun was up.
We've recorded some, yeah. But I mean, most of our investigations have taken place either at dusk or in the evenings. It's never during the middle of the day.
Oh, most of mine did.
Okay.
That's just me. So
But like the UAP footage, that was right at dusk.
yeah, that was done at night.
We were the only thing I can recall that was really in the daylight, and again, it was more fleeting in the day, was that incident at Wineberry the first time we had the EM spike with a little bit of radiation thrown in just for the what the heck factor. That was in the daytime. But yeah, and we did the investigation down here at the the library. That was dark, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think you see a lot of people doing that, and there's various reasons. It could have something to do with, like I said, magnetic, electromagnetic.
The weird thing that
frequencies.
we had happen to us when we went out to the orb sighting location.
What was that?
When we went out to the orb sighting location, that was during the day.
I don't know how to explain that. It was during the day, but it was a miserable.
It was
day.
a bad storm. It was not a good time. It wasn't
It was a
great
miserable
conditions.
day is what that was. I don't even know how to explain that one to you. But there was no sun.
I mean,
there was
enough sunlight to be
overcast.
lit up. We weren't in the dark.
No, but it was overcast. Like
Yeah, it was
we were in the middle of
overcast.
a storm, so it wasn't like we're out there on the beach, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, I think in a lot of the stuff, I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of it, it's just the scary factor. They like to do it.
D says because we're focusing with fewer senses, turning down a radio to see where you're going. It's referencing it at night.
Mhm.
Pat says, "Why did you stop the flute? I love the flute." Spooky says most of mine happened during the day as well. Shane said, I used to sleep with a flashlight until smartphones came around with built-in lights.
Yeah, I think everybody did, right?
Yeah.
We all had those little flashlights.
Pat said, I love sitting on the edge of the forest around an hour before dawn. All kinds of things happen. Yeah, it's the forest right there about an hour before and half an hour to 45 minutes beyond dusk, and then an hour before dawn are the hot times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Deucer says most ghost hunters have daytime jobs. They do.
That's a very good point, my friend. Very good point.
Yeah, see, like when I was referencing a lot of mine, as I was actually working during the day in the forest, and so I would be out and we would be with people. We'd have weird experiences and hear things. It was all during the daytime.
Well, I think it's been proven that when we're talking about Bigfoot, for example, that does tend to happen during the day.
Yeah.
Most of those sightings happen between before 4 o'clock, usually in the evening.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your prime time, between noon and 4. But when you're talking about like ghosts and paranormal kind of stuff, UFOs in particular, you don't get a lot of daytime sightings of that kind of stuff.
Bigfoot Littlefoot says a lot of folks that are in deep sleep, REM, opens up a different realm.
Yep, different brain activity causes different responses. It's kind of like meditation. Sounds like someone needs to meditate.
Tommy says, so what do you think about gifting Bigfoot? I've shared a story about my encounter with Bigfoot here in Tyler County. It seems like people don't have a clue about Bigfoot, and I say to leave them alone. I agree. You leave them alone. At least that's the method that we follow. I have done gifting in the past, just because I tried it. It was one of those things where I was like, well, let's just see what happens. And the only time anything was ever brought back, there was a single feather that was shoved down in a stump. That's the only kind of thing that I'd ever gotten back. And it was a flight feather. It was a fairly large feather that was shoved down in the stump.
And we have to look at that as well, Joe, because
people can do that.
People can do that. But there's also, in the native culture's beliefs, and you have native in you as well, if you gift something to the ancestors may gift you back. So you can't rule out the fact that there could have been something, a little more paranormal going on there as well.
Yeah, you are exactly right.
So you don't know. You just don't know what that was.
Well, I've also heard people say that it's not Bigfoot doing that; it's the Fae.
Brandon,
because the Irish used to do that.
God, the Fae.
A lot of the Irish, we've talked about that before. They brought their culture here.
Mm-hmm.
Which means
And
spirits could have followed them.
Right. The spirits were in their heads and jumped out. But no, for real, you think about this. I'm not joking on this one. I mean, I'm not. The spirits were in their heads, right? They had the belief system. They had the culture. They had this in their. Could they have created it? Could this have given birth to that? Literally.
Well, if you read the book American Gods, when people came over from other countries, they brought their literal gods with them.
Right. That's what
They
I'm saying.
followed them over here.
Right.
Yeah.
So how they follow them? That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like that whole, the Tulpa effect, the egregore effect. They created it. They manifested it. Believe me, manifestation works. I can tell you. I used to think that was hokey and nonsense. It does, and I could see a massive, culture. Hey, a brand new world. We got a new thing. Let's take everything we've got, set it up here. They start doing their rituals, start doing their prayers. Bingo. Here comes a banshee. I mean, yeah, I can see that for real.
Mm-hmm.
Where you go, I don't think is going to be determined upon what follows you, so to speak. Especially.
Yeah. What's that verse in the Bible, Joe? Where you go, I will be also. Something like that.
There's like 4 of those.
But basically, it's the same thing.
It's in the Psalms. It's in Isaiah. It's in. The one in Isaiah is a little bit more like directional, though. It says, you'll hear a voice that says, "Step to the left, step to the right. Go this way. I'll be with you." So Adam just throws out this random fact. When I was born, I came out sideways. Mom didn't scream or nothing.
It makes a lot of sense, man. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, absolutely.
Are we gonna have to mute him?
I think so. Hey, is everybody enjoying the show so far? If you're enjoying the show, hit that like button and smash some
Share it
hearts
with
and
some
whatnot.
friends.
Share it with some friends. I want to see some stuff. I
You
want
know,
to see your numbers up there. And,
The worst part is
I want to see that.
I have such an active imagination that when people tell me things, I immediately picture it in my head. So now I can't stop thinking about that, Adam. Thanks.
There's a really good question.
So Lisa Beard says, so serious question. Is there a dominant hair color that Bigfoot is supposed to have? Just trying to validate something that you saw once. There's not really a color that's supposed to have. Now, usual reports are going to be like a dark ruddy, so like reddish brown hair. Some report all black. There have been sightings of white or gray here in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Alabama most prolifically.
Much more.
But yeah, it's you're looking with something that's going to have more of a reddish brown, most likely. Like my personal sighting in 2001, there was a dark brown one, a reddish brown one, and the little one was almost black. So 3 different colors, essentially.
We call that a tricolor. No, I'm kidding.
Pat says, I'm going to poke it with a stick if I ever run into a Bigfoot.
I wouldn't do that.
Just turn the camera on. They'll leave immediately.
D says, I concentrate better when there are fewer people. I can pick up as well when I'm in a large group.
Mm-hmm.
D also says chestnut brown. Tommy says Bigfoot here has an orange brown hair. And I think it might just be the one that you'd seen, because again, it goes in that reddish brown, orangey brown. Is pretty common.
I've even heard people see blonde ones.
Blonde, and then again gray or black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Pat says, why can't Bigfoot be a fairy? Is a fairy not an interdimensional being?
Yes. No, he's right. He's 100% right.
Yeah,
and that's absolutely true.
Quantum theory.
We can say Bigfoot. We can throw UFOs in that. We throw aliens in that. We throw all kind of ghosts into that. Anything could be a technical fairy. Remember, these are all just labels. These are words that we're using to try to describe some of these things. We don't know what they are.
Lisa,
welcome to the basics of 14.
Lisa says, does it ever say anything about being wavy or curly? Hair is going to be hair. You get various, either just slick back or kind of matted, wild sort of hair.
Typically, it's matted.
Yeah. So you're going to think wavy, kind of, in essence. D says, I think straight because there's no function for having curly hair. Well, tell that to my butt. It has no function having curly hair there, but it's there.
What is wrong with you? What is that?
Oh, man. So you're all welcome. But no, for functionality for curly hair, that would be an adaptive function. But again, you would expect it to be more straight, but straight hair has less of a tendency to get matted. Tommy says, I've had a 15-year battle with my local Bigfoot, and finally I think we came to common ground. Like we would just put a whole tree across my trails and stump. Oh, wow. So like just pushing an entire tree over and uprooting the root ball and everything.
Oh, we've heard of this before.
Yep, we sure have. Lisa said, so what I saw was a reddish brown curly head walking below me on a path. Lots of saplings in the way and no clear sight of the body. Had to be at least 7 feet tall.
Right.
Now, it could have been somebody like, Billy Ray Cyrus with a perm. That would have given the curly effect. But like I haven't heard any reports of like a curly haired Bigfoot. It's possible though. I'm not ruling it out. Genetic morphological differences and different mutations could cause that. Mike A says most accounts I've heard are reddish brown and dark. Adam Good, thank you, D. After spooky season, we have planes, trains, and automobile season. Scott Holbrook says white Bigfoot around Carter Caves Park for years. I have heard about that one there in Kentucky. Then, the other day, the trees I left alone to give him space, he moved them off the trail, and I think he sees me with my kids taking care of the animals on the property. There are some people, especially out west, who've had similar relations, where they've had kind of a coming to terms that they've claimed. So it is very possible, Yeah. Pat says it depends on the humidity what the Bigfoot hair does.
It does, but you're right. That's the most logical explanation I've heard so far.
The Troy Polamalu of Bigfoot. Tony Breeden says TMI, you're welcome.
No, I think this
Adam,
says it
you're
all
welcome.
Right here.
Angie says, remember, Brandon is the visual thinker. And again, you're welcome, Brandon.
I just thought about it again. God.
Finally getting caught up down here. We're up to we made it.
Have we?
Yeah, we're caught up in here. So the matted hair makes sense because they're often associated with a very pungent, hot garbage aroma. Matted hair would promote bacteria growth and a smelly scent. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Joe get his butt hair implanted on his head so we don't get that shot from the lights? You want to hear something really funny, Pat, or not Pat, but Adam? This was actually something that I addressed with my hairdresser. She can confirm about, I don't know, 8 years ago before I gave up on the fact that my hair was just going to go away. I was like, I got plenty back here. We can just take samples, put it up top. I mean, the sides will be straight, the top will be curly. Little did I know that would be the trend today for all the youngsters' hair.
You mean that broccoli haircut?
Yeah. Oh, man. They had a sighting a few years back up in Hancock County. They were white and it made the news. Yes, I do remember that. Scott Holbrook says investigated the property bordering the state park and found tracks, 2 butt prints in the leaves where they could look in the windows of the house. By chance for those butt prints curly hair or straight? Pat says, I want to see a Bigfoot with dreads if their hair is that matted. There have been reports of lone
Rostafoot?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Of lone Bigfoots that could possibly basically have dreads because of that. Like they've seen them and had big matted pats of hair.
Huh.
Adam says, I'm glad we got to explore your hair loss journey and how it would be a trend. I know, right? So what are some other experiences that you guys have had?
After tonight, I won't talk about anything. It's too traumatic for me. I'd rather tell you about, alien contact than to hear some of the stuff that I've heard tonight. So
Pat says he needs a painting of Rasta foot, Ron.
I'm on it, bud. I'm on it. Just wait. We got a lot of things coming, so just wait. We got new paintings on the way.
Yeah.
We got a new version of the logo that's going to be coming up. You'll get to see a new version of the Flatwoods Monster. So it's going to be cool.
So with what's been going on, back to our main vein here in the topic.
Yeah.
What with how things have been progressing, what do you guys think we're looking at here? Do you think that the, I guess, accommodations that have been made for some are going to help promote others to come forward in the future?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. I think the more that we see people come forward and they realize there's, it's okay that I'm not alone. I can tell my story. Well, that just bolsters the other person to come along and do the same thing, and we get more and more of that. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of these, the government researchers, they don't care about our stories. First of all, they really just don't care about our stories, unless there's a piece of data in there that they absolutely positively have to have. But typically, they don't care about our stories. So, the only people who seem to care about our stories, and whether they be real or not, are some of these hardcore debunkers who have nothing better to do than basically just to sit around and tell people that they're lying. But that's how they make their money. That's how they get their clicks. That's how they get people to watch them. So, again, I could care less when people say I believe you or they don't believe me. It doesn't matter. It's data. I hope that it helps validate something for you. I can't tell you how many times I've said something that resonates with someone else, and vice versa. I've heard other people saying something, and it's just like, wait a minute, and you put two and two together, and it's like, this makes perfect sense. Yeah, exactly, Tony. Those are the two I'm thinking about.
Yeah, Mick West and Joe Nickel.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, Mick West.
Spooky says we were filming in college on Hospital Hill. While in the basement, we heard a woman screaming. No one else was in the building but us and one of the owners. She was right next to me, so it wasn't her. I remember you telling me about that.
Mm-hmm. Happens, man.
Did you guys get that on the recording? I don't remember if I've seen that video or not.
Mike A says that experiencers and people like me just genuinely interested. Yeah, we're hopeful that more people begin to come forward with what we're seeing in modern day, and the way that the culture is moving.
I mean, case in point is that I'll talk about what I know, and that would be, I guess, non-human intelligent contact, for lack of a better word, because alien is just it's just a fun word now, and that's why we can't use that, because it draws up certain stereotypes, and that's why the government's trying to get away from it too, by the way.
Yeah.
I would say, and what is Angie saying before I finish this?
Angie said there will always be a subset of the culture that wants to be proven untrue because it's not aligned with their belief system. Yeah.
Thank you. 100% yes. And with me, I guess I'm a little different because I'm not one of those people who's like, this absolutely 100% has to be this way. When you show me the data and it fits, I can't deny that. Yeah. So whether I want to believe it or not, no, it has nothing to do with me wanting to believe it. It's the data. I have to see it. I have to process that. And it is what it is. I ran from that for years trying to figure out exactly what's going on here, And what's really funny is we see these, like I said, these things that happen. Like the painting I did, and Adam, had to buy it because it's something that he drew ages ago. These are things that happen with experiencers. It's like they know each other somehow, or at least they know of each other, even if they don't, consciously know each other. there's something of them. There's a subconscious aspect where they almost have this family relation, which is very, very strange, but it is what it is. It's really cool too. Because I think you'll hear a lot of people in the metaphysics community. They'll say something like, well, the higher vibrations or vibrations attract. That's just fancy words for we understand each other very well, and we somehow mesh, but we don't quite understand how. And that's kind of what happens with this kind of stuff.
Yep. And you can see this at various levels. You can see these interactions taking place online where people will have these experiences and they come together. You also see it particularly at events where you have these conferences.
Yes. Oh,
Lisa Beard epic episode. We
look at that.
Greatly
look at that heart. Look at that heart. Look at She gets another one. No, she gets another one because that heart right there. That's awesome. There you go. She gave us a heart, so she deserved that. There'll be a new one sometime soon. I didn't get a chance to make one this week. I was too busy doing other things. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mike, of course. Yeah. Spooky has a channel, and we're trying to help him get it up there. So
look up his name, Spooky Appalachia. That's the name of the channel.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go into the YouTube search bar, just type in Spooky Appalachia. You'll see that ghost logo and everything.
Go up to Tommy, pull him up.
So Tommy said, my experience started when I built my house, basically in his territory, had huge rocks thrown at me and the house, beating on the camper while I was building my house, and stayed in it.
Oh, man.
Tommy, did this escalate as you became more interested in the phenomena, or did the phenomena seem to become more interested in you and escalate it without you having any interest in trying to make contact or seek it out?
That's not the first time I've heard that. There was a guy him and his brother were trying to build a house on property that he had bought. It was all woods prior, and as they were digging what would have been the basement, they were terrorized by this Bigfoot so much that he actually sold the property. That's not unheard of.
Yeah, Tommy, what you're talking about there, I cannot tell you how many reports we have collected revolving around the orange balls of light, and then the correlation between some of these Bigfoot reports and these balls of light, which is a situation where you've got subject A and subject B existing in the same area. And in particular, we find that those areas happen in more remote locations. So is your property kind of remote? Now, I mean, I don't mean like, super, super remote, but just you're not near a town. You're not, you've got at least a 5 or 10 minute drive to get somewhere before you can do anything.
Yeah.
Assuming here, would that be right? Mike A, awesome. Just subbed Spooky, especially love the channels from folks in my neck of the woods. Well, Spooky, you're welcome. You can send the check in the mail anytime now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it works.
Send us your first YouTube check.
Sky Daddy Matthew McConaughey needs to hang out with Rastafoot.
Oh,
Lord.
I see a challenge.
Adam brought up a good point here.
Yeah.
The stage we're at in Contact is interrogation, and the way we want it to unfold are two different endings. Ours does not match theirs.
It's true. It's true.
Yep.
We don't know how to speak the language, basically.
Pat says, I want to narrow down and try to explain these things, but I don't want to rule anything out just because it doesn't fit into the known box.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you should do.
Lisa, thanks for hanging out with us. And you guys have good luck this weekend and stay safe.
Yeah, absolutely. See you next week. So,
Spooky for Spooky's channel. Shane, just go ahead when you done with the show here, type in your search bar Spooky Appalachian. That'll take you straight to his channel. Oh, and Spooky just threw a link down in there for you guys.
There you go.
So just copy paste that bad boy.
There you go.
Pat says that sounds like my house, 10 minutes from everywhere. Spooky says I'll just keep making donations.
That's funny.
So back to what Adam said earlier, Ron. What do you think? You know, because I mean we've talked about this on the podcast several times, and that we're not operating on our timeline anymore. But based on what we're seeing now in the last 3 or 4 months, and we see an escalation of acceptance with the population, with society in general, where now you're not looked at as crazy. They're looked at as still pretty weird, but you're not looked at as a loon. Nobody's making tinfoil hats and giving them to you. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there are still those who do that, and there still will be people who do that. But I think you're seeing safety in numbers. I think you're seeing a lot of people come forward. What Adam was getting at is basically that it's kind of like, well, if we wanted to have a conversation with the whales, for example, we can go and grab some whales, and we can put them in a tank, and we can observe them. We can do all kinds of tests on these whales, but we can't really communicate with them. They may know that we don't mean them any serious harm because we're not doing anything to them, right, as we're doing these experiments. But if we really want to communicate with them, if we have something that we need to tell them and make them understand, then we have to start at square one. And that basically comes down to, well, we got to learn how to interface. We got to learn how to actually communicate and teach them to communicate with us.
Yeah.
I'm using that as an example because whales are completely alien to us. We don't have a clue how we would communicate with whales. We know what the sounds sound like. We know that some of the sounds mean, you know, food or what have you. At least we think we do. But we don't really know what they mean.
I would just get that thing from Flipper, stick it down in the water, and start cranking it.
Yeah.
That's how you call them in, right?
Right. I mean, that's kind of like flashing green lasers in the, you know, in the sky. That's how you call them in, right?
Yeah.
So the whole thing is we are making contact out here. We just don't know what we're saying. Same thing with the Bigfoot people. You guys are going out and doing the things with the Bigfoot. We showed you at the workshop. You saw it. You saw how intent could possibly be a factor. I don't know how that works. I have no idea how that consciously can work with a physical creature, yet we observed it and we saw it, and it was multiples of us who did see that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain any of that to you other than we have a serious learning curve that we have to get over before we can actually do something here as far as one-on-one communication. And that goes with everything. That goes with, you know, what we're talking about here or with Bigfoot or whatever, you know. I know, yeah, manifestation. Exactly, Angie. That's exactly what it is. We don't know how it works. It has, you know, we think it has something to do with quantum realities and actually controlling the quantum field. My God, if that's the case, do you know how dangerous that is for humans to have that kind of ability in their current state? You guys remember the episode of Twilight Zone, the little kid, I'll wish you away to the cornfield? Do you remember that? Any of you?
Yeah.
One of the most terrifying episodes, I think, ever. Think about that for a second, because that's manifestation on a super advanced level. If humans somehow got that, that's kind of what you would see, right? I mean,
yeah. So Pat says we don't talk to an intelligent animal on our planet. So what makes us think that we would try to talk to visiting intelligence?
I think because they look a little bit like us. I think that we're cocky enough to think that we matter, that they should be honored to talk to us, not the other way around. And I think that that's one of the human conditions, that ego.
It's just pride.
It's the
is.
same
It's a problem.
idea as when white people came over here and met the natives for the first time. They thought they were holier than thou compared to the
Oh,
natives.
yeah. When Europeans arrived, it's the same thing. And I even seen
Mm.
that today. It was like there's an article that Nick Pope was in, and they were asking about, well, what if aliens come and they believe in this and they're trying to convert us, and I'm thinking it's happened before, didn't end
Well,
so
yeah.
well.
hmm
But why are we painting them with what we look like? You see, that's our biggest issue, and I think that that's where the fear comes from, because we can only understand something in light of what we are. But we may have something here that's so beyond us trying to even comprehend. A lot of contactees will tell you that when you are dealing with this intelligence, that it's not like I'm talking to you right now. And it's not like, oh, I'm going to, mentally talk to you. I'm still saying, hey, Brandon, can you hear me in your mind? That's not how it works. It's a it's an integration.
hmm
It's almost like you have become one at a point. I think the closest thing you could get it to would be almost like what was in Star Trek, the Vulcan, the mind,
The mind meld.
the mind meld. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that. So images. It's more images. It's more feelings, raw emotion and feelings. I don't know what your emotion or feeling would be, Brandon. I think it would change a
Yeah.
lot. For me, sometimes it's frustration. So I would be like very frustrated. Oh, that means Brandon.
Michael
It's
Rowley says, I
frustration.
think it's more likely intelligent life outside of this solar system would be insectoid, not human like. And, there's been a lot of witnesses who have claimed to see these insectoid type entities.
Mhm.
Um,
The mantis type.
yeah, that mantis. And then you also had the stories of the ant people,
Yep.
hmm
you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
Yep. Exactly.
So it would be very possible. And it's also just as possible that you'd be dealing with some kind of like octopus like creature,
Yeah.
you know? Like scientists have recently all but said that octopus do not come from this planet.
Yeah, aren't
That's
there
unreal.
no fossils of octopus?
Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
Is that
there's
right?
no they're not necessarily on the fossil record. There's squids of type, but
Yes.
like octopus, you don't see them. And then the way that they're genetically different from every other creature on the planet.
Hmm.
They don't share commonalities. They don't have no evolutionary link back in the
Well, if you remember on Doctor Who, Daleks are actually squid-like little creatures inside those robot bodies.
Yeah, yeah. Shane Lawrenson said, if the aliens are spidery, then just go ahead and delete me forever.
Oh, that's just funny.
6 foot tall insects would try to eat us when they got here, I'm pretty sure. But 6 foot tall insects, depending on what kind they are, especially if they're spidery, would taste awfully crabby. I'm just saying.
See, that's a stupid human remark.
I mean, if they try to eat me, I'm going to try to eat them back.
But you're already having the prejudgment of saying, oh, they're going to not only taste good, but they're going to try to eat me. So I must eat them. This is what's wrong with humanity.
Yeah, I've eaten tarantula before, so if they're kind of spider-like, maybe
Unreal.
it's worth a
Tastes
shot.
like chicken.
That'd be the next thing to add into the gumbo recipe, man.
This is what I call insectoid stew. Here we go, people.
So what about the we're seeing this open treatment now, this open policy within the government. Do you think it's going to trickle down to the private sector soon?
Maybe, possibly. At this point, we know that, I think it's become a lot more open. I know just 10 years ago, if you were to say, hey, I've seen something, or I was driving down the road and there was a strange light and, I lost 15 minutes or whatever, someone would look at you and be like, okay, yes, okay. That's cool. That's great. You know, just don't talk about that because that's a little weird. And now it's like, no, okay. It literally has become to that point now because it's so much into our. It's just not even in our lexicon. It's just in our everyday at this point. I mean, as far as it goes, I think that we can say that assimilation has worked very, very well.
Yeah.
And it's been a rapid assimilation as well.
It has been. And it's been in every level.
He's got a rock. He's got a
The
rock.
fossil.
Oh, it's fossil.
Yep. Yeah. So Pat says octopuses
are
don't have
fossil.
bones, and that's why they aren't on the fossil record, but they have a beak. They have that centralized beak in the middle that is super, super hard, and that would fossilize.
Well, they can
Yeah,
also
but plants
leave an
don't have
imprint.
bones, and they are.
Yeah. They can also leave an imprint, just like
Yeah.
a plant,
Yeah.
depending on what kind of material they're in. So they could do that.
Cephalopod sounds like spaceship. Yeah, pod.
Now it all makes.
Well,
perfect
what was
sense.
that? It wasn't Firefly was obviously really good, but there was another one that was like a precursor. It was made by the same people that did Stargate, where the ship was alive.
Oh, Lex.
Yes, Lex. Gosh, that was such a good show.
Yeah, Lex.
I loved that show. Lex was
Lex.
fantastic.
Yep, that was Lex. Too late, Adam. Too late.
But so where do you think future prediction, speculation time, future outlook? What do you guys think? Farscape, yes, Farscape had the living ship too. That's right.
I foresee
Farscape
that
was the one.
Firefly will never come back.
They're doing a Firefly reunion thing.
Are they really?
Yeah, it's
Officially?
actually legitimate. What's his name? Fillions confirmed it.
Where do I see these things going? As long as they're going away from things like this, which they haven't yet because this is recent, right?
Yeah, this was recent. This was just not too long ago. It
Witnesses
was
were
about
scared
like
away from
6
the
weeks
UFO
roughly.
briefing. Right. Because there were actually supposed to be more people there to testify, but they did not show up because they were scared away. What scared away means is that they weren't heavy-handed about it because they were pretty much just drawn aside and said, "How much do you like your pension? How much you like that retirement?
Yeah.
Do you want that to disappear? Because that can happen." That's the kind of threat that we have now. But we're moving away from things like that, aren't we? And that's a good thing because I remember when anyone who reported something outside the norm, it just had to be debunked, had to be squashed, and they had some incredibly stupid ways
Swamp
of doing
gas.
this. Swamp gas, great, yeah. Or like Ray said, prancing planet Venus, which is a great one.
Because that happens.
Because that happens. Remember these two? You guys remember these two, right?
Oh yeah.
Remember them? Doug and I can't remember his name. Dave, was it Dave? I think it was Doug and Dave. I can't remember. These guys who somehow harnessed the power of Santa Claus because they could travel in one night and make all the crop circles somehow because it was all them. So yeah. And then you had this. You guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Oh, I remember how that shook
Yep.
the world when that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yep.
okay because I did it all. Okay, guys, here's the problem when we have these I did it alls. It's bought immediately, and we have to look at who buys it. You know, and it's all thrown out there. Crop circles, the art of a hoax, art and culture. Look at that, 2009. There's been a lot done on crop circles at this point that says no. That's not the case. It's not just a board being put down, and you know. So I'm seeing us drift away from these attempts to just explain away everything. That's a good thing.
Shane says money. It always comes down to money.
It does.
Whether that's money in the form of clicks, money in the form of selling papers.
I found another good one for you guys. This is how
Tommy,
far-
you didn't miss a whole lot. We just we started diving more into the topic here, but it's nothing you won't be able to just scroll back and catch up with.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much just where we see things going at this point. This is looking back. This is from 2005, and just to show you how much we've moved from 2005 to now. Alien abduction claims were explained. See, it was all just sleep paralysis and false memories, guys. That's all it was. I mean, it was 100% all it was, because right there it is. It tells you right there, right? It's not a sign of mental illness, though. It's okay. You're not crazy. It's not a sign of mental illness. It's as normal as hiccups. So don't think you're weird. But about 25% of the people around the world have experienced it, and about 5% get the whole show of sight, sound, tactical hallucinations, and abduction. Folks, that was in 2005. This was from Harvard, by the way. I just want to qualify where this came from. And they're trying to explain away the abduction phenomenon. And now, knowing what we know, we can look at that data and say about 25% of the people around the world have experienced it, with 5% having full-on experiences, full physical experiences.
Adam says, so my sleep paralysis happens during the day while I'm doing tasks.
Mine does that when I'm editing the podcast sometimes. Fall asleep. Like, well, I hope I edited that right.
So Black Lamb says crop circles have been appearing for
Yes.
thousands of years in South Africa. There's a man named
Yes.
Credo Mutwa, a shaman who interprets them from Ashdown traditional knowledge, and is now his son. And now his son does it.
Yeah. There's the whole thing is those two clowns, these guys, they didn't do anything. That's
No, if you look at their crop circles that they made versus the ones that are like,
they didn't do those.
No,
Those
They
are
did
pretty
not do
crappy,
those.
honestly.
you could see the waves in theirs.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't do those. But what I'm getting at is, I think we've moved away from that. So what do you think about the malls and the alien?
We tackled
Okay.
that one pretty hard, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, but all data's on the table, and
Yeah.
at this point, they have invited others to come and look at those aliens as well. This is a very strange story, because on the outside it looks like this is a hoax, and I think it is. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Until I see more evidence, I'm not going to say 100% it is a hoax. I said I think it's a hoax because of past issues with who's involved. If this were someone else, we may be looking at it a little differently.
Ada Cox says, do you remember the story from Dayton, Ohio, where two kids used aluminum foil and dressed up like ETs? It was in the 70s. We lived not far from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
I remember a story about a hoax where someone was covered in tinfoil and running across roads in front of cars. I don't know if that was the one you're talking about or not. But what happens with these things is the same thing that happens today. And this is going to be a prelude to a future episode, because we're going to talk about it. We're getting a lot right now of these false reports.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going on the record because people are bored and they just hit share.
Yeah.
Stop sharing that crap. You need to be sharing our stuff. It's real. Our stuff's real. Okay, so you share this, all right? That's my thing. But what I'm getting at is, they go and they share these things that are AI generated, these images. Those things, guys, you're paying someone's car payment.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally are paying someone's car payment when you do that, because some of these guys are getting rich off of this stuff, and they shouldn't be. All right, so I'll tackle the Greer thing because I have a mixed feeling on this guy. My thing about Greer is this. Greer was a great figurehead in early disclosure, the early disclosure project. He got it off the ground. He did a wonderful job. Somewhere along the line, he got sidetracked, and I don't know how he got sidetracked.
It goes back to the money.
I think
in
it
my
might.
opinion.
It may. I don't know. It's either that or someone pulled him aside and said, and he believed this, whatever they told him. Tommy, I want to tell you this right now. He says basically that there are no abductions. There's the government that is abducting people. I can swear to you right now, the government does not have the technology to do the things that I have seen. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now. You can read the book when it comes out. It's all about money, right? No, it's not really. Because when it comes out, I'll be sure to make sure we talk about it here for a good several hours and do a Q&A. But the government can't do these things, brother. That's what I'm trying to get at. I know that people think that they can, but they cannot do this. And they certainly couldn't do it, back in the 60s. And they couldn't do it to this day.
Now there are people that do purport that the government is in on it with the aliens, that there's a agreement, because there have been a lot of abductees who have seen uniformed personnel, human personnel.
100%. And I'm going to go into this a little bit further too.
And I think that's what, personally, I think that's where the connection that Greer made to make that jump, that the Fed is who's doing these things. But I think if anything, it is some
joint.
Sort of.
You're thinking joint.
It's some kind of agreement.
Yeah. Think Stargate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think Stargate. I think they pretty much had it right on. I think there is some form of like a partnership or an alliance. I don't know that for sure. What? Where'd you go? You missed the best part. You missed the best part, Ashley. No, I'm kidding. You didn't. So here's the thing. Say you have physical abductions, which you've heard about. Greer is under the mistaken belief that everything's physical. I learned at a very, very, very young age that is not the case at all. Sometimes they're not physical abductions. Sometimes they are, for lack of a better word, they are, I don't know if I like to use the word astral, but out of body.
It's kind of out of body.
Yeah, it's out of body. There's not a name for it, honestly. It's just, we're using labels again. But you're not physically there. You don't have to be. It's almost like someone put a set of VR goggles on you, and now you're in that world. That's what it's like, okay? And they can communicate with you that way from remote locations. Who knows where they're at? But they can definitely communicate with you. And I think that he, as in Greer, has a definite agenda that he's trying to sell. And that's where I'll leave that for right now. What's Ash say?
Ashley says, I'm not into a lot of what Greer says, but I am interested in trying out CE5. People claim to have results, and I've never given it a fair shake. But also, I don't want to give him my money.
Ashley, you don't have to give him any money whatsoever. And if you're interested, we'll talk. It's not hard. And that's the thing that people don't get. It's like C5 contact. It's easier than you could possibly imagine. And it's very unique is what it is to each individual. You can do it. You don't have to go out in the field and shine lasers. You don't have to go out and do any of these weird things, but it's definitely something you can do.
Mike A says, I don't believe anything Greer has to say. I believe he's in it for the attention. That's just my opinion, and I would love to be wrong. And if this were like 15, 20 years ago, I think I'm in the same boat with Ron. 15, 20 years ago, when he started getting the disclosure stuff started, and when he started doing those briefings, like, he was legitimate. He was a pioneer. Yeah. And still should be regarded as a pioneer, but like, he's gone off the path.
That's why I don't attack the man, because he did do some wonderful. If it wasn't for Greer, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. Like that or not, that is true. We would not be having this conversation, because he did open those doors up to get people to accept it. It's just that later on, he saw how popular that paranoid generation was, and hey, I can give them this. I'm going to give them this story, and it's easy to manipulate data. I can give you data, and I can manipulate data and make it say whatever I want it to say. Yeah. We don't do that. we throw it out on the table and let you make up your own mind what it says.
So when I was speaking, reference the uniformed personnel in some of these abductions, Adam typed out that some of these uniformed personnel are actually dead. So I started the comment back when he said it because I wanted to come back to it, and then he actually, I guess, read my mind. And he typed out, a friend of mine had a CIA friend show up in an abduction later to find out that he had been dead for 6 months.
Okay. So Adam is talking about where the study of the phenomena has now shifted, okay? It was once we were studying physical abductions, Betty and Barney Hill type stuff, right? And then we got up into these more strange things, these what was it, Andres and Lucas kind of experiences where they were having these almost spiritual experiences. They were having these I'll say it, communion type experiences, because that's kind of what it is. It's almost like a actual you are they are you, we're all together kind of, cuckoo chew thing. And that to me is where it was for a very long time. But there's always been this hint of otherworldliness to it, that this is something far beyond, that this is energy, that there's something to do with life after life here. And it's just another dimensional kind of thing. And, what's really funny is that's where they're going with this. And we have to look at the man who, kind of propagated a lot of this paranormal study.
Yeah.
Bigelow. Where did Bigelow go after he stopped chasing UAPs? The search for life after death.
Yep.
Where did John Mack start to go to? Before he died, honestly.
Before he passed.
Yeah. Before.
So, real quick, before we go too much further than that, do you think that was a hit?
I do think it was. Yes. No one does. Like no researcher that I've talked to. It's just an accident. It's a tragic accident. I'm like,
no.
You think that's a tragic accident, yet you believe some of the stuff that you say?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think Mike was on the path. He knew where this was going to go. This was, decades before where we're at right now. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Bless you. For
Scott, real. You're awesome, brother.
But I
keeping
think
it free.
This is where this matters. And I think that this is what's getting kind of overlooked with it. And I also think it's the weird factor that scares a lot of people. Okay. This is why when I know when the whole alien thing came out, right? When Grush was coming out, and then they had the guy who wrote for, what was it, the debrief? And he said, I've heard things that I can't even talk about. And he said, some of them are so fantastic that let's just try to digest this for now. Mm-hmm. What they're trying to get at, guys, is that this high strangeness, it's somehow related to this. There are these paranormal events that are related to this. Could it be something like that? I don't know what it is, but I've heard a lot of stories. I'll tell you that.
So Tommy brought up back a minute ago that he had an out-of-body or NDE back when he was 6. He was in an accident where his brother shot him.
Okay.
Accidentally. And what's weird about that, whenever I was 5 or 6, my first cousin shot at me through a plate glass window, and it was point blank, but something hit me and knocked me like 5-6 feet through the air and launched me I'm standing here right in front of him. He pulls the trigger. I see the plate glass explode. But the next thing I know, I'm like over on the ground, like 5-6 feet away from the door. And I remember clear as day, I remember feeling this rush and like a mass hit me. Mm-hmm. And it was like it hit my whole body all at once and moved me out of the way.
We were in a car accident where we literally had to go through the other vehicle and merge on the other side, and never got a scratch. I know this for a fact. Craig was there. Jen was there. This is back during the band days. And it was on the old ridge where I lived. And there was a hill, a blind curb. And as we came over that, there was a vehicle there. We saw it. I mean, we saw the headlights, everything. And then we were on the other side, and it was behind us. There's no way we missed that vehicle. So those kind of things do happen, is what I'm trying to get at. Um, as far as it goes with the NDE thing, Tommy, I think that it's been proven almost for me anyway that when these things happen, that somehow changes your it changes something in your brain, and it makes you a lot more receptive to these kind of things. It makes you a whole lot more receptive to these kind of things. So it doesn't surprise me a bit that you know you probably have a lot of psychic experiences. You probably had a lot of psychic dreams. You've probably seen a lot of weird things you can't explain, not just Bigfoot.
So now this is this what Pat says. Why was your cousin trying to kill you, Joe? We were actually playing Cowboys and Indians, is what we were playing. And I was the cowboy because I was the white one, and he was the Indian because he was the one that took after the Indian side of the family, and he was very, very dark complected and looked like your, traditional Native American appearance. That's what he looks like. And we were on family land because that's where they live, and that's what happened. It was we started off with Nerf guns, and it was squirrel season, and he picked up his dad's shotgun and right through a French, like a really fancy like glass door, really expensive. One of the ones that had like the gills in the middle.
Wow.
So it had like all the fancy filigree and all that stuff in it. But yeah, that was, we were just playing. And
so Tommy was out for 25 minutes.
Yes, Tommy was out for 25 minutes while they life flighted me to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. He was in a coma for 3 months, and after he woke up, my pap was asking the nurse for a sponge bath.
Wow.
That's at the end of that's great.
25 minutes.
But think about that. That explains Tommy. He's also experiencing these orange balls of light. He's having other phenomena. He is a weird magnet.
Yeah. And it's okay when we say that, by the way.
We're not like,
that's a good thing for us.
Yeah. We need to get together, Tommy. We need to talk. we need to actually have a conversation.
Well, Adam brought up a good thing. Ann Strieber had said that all of this has to do with death. And that is where a lot of the researchers were coming to this conclusion that there is this tie-in. There's something to do with the spirit. There's something to do with this.
And the answer, Nancy, is yes, 100%. We have in the past multiple times, and we're more than open to doing it again.
I mean, I'm on this show.
Yeah, Ron's a host of the show. He's a contactee. I've had weird stuff happen. I've seen Bigfoot for sure, but some other weird stuff happen. Brandon has experienced a lot of strange phenomena as well, mostly like in the hauntings and spooky stuff, but has seen other stuff too on top of that. So,
but it definitely opens you up. The more you look into it, right, Brandon? I mean, I know you know this, right, Brandon? Like, is there not a synchronicity that starts to take place once you start opening that door? Joe, did you not start having more Bigfoot experiences after you started looking into it?
Yes, when I started actually actively going out looking for it, yeah.
And it's not because you were looking for it. These things started to happen around your actual house.
Right.
So, Larry, by the power...
Larry, brother, we appreciate you so much, man. You are we love you, man. Same with you, Scott.
Keep it going, man. Keep it going. That's all I can say. We got to keep it going. And right now, man, you guys are just incredible. That's all we can say. Every time we see that, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Never would have imagined that. But, I think that's part of our journey. I think that's why we are here. I think that's why all these weird things have happened to each and every one of us. I always told you that. I think there is a plan. And I don't want to sound, like some religious cult leader or nut job, but there is a plan. And I don't know what it is. I'm not going to tell you I know what it is. But we're not all here by complete accident. This isn't just I'm rolling the dice, and it's a maybe. There's definitely something going on.
So Mike asked, have you guys seen orbs or what I call spook lights?
Oh wait, do I have a video? Hang on.
I have.
I may have taken it off. I wanted to find the ghost possum.
Oh gosh, the guy. That one was weird. Yeah. So real quick, I'll tell you about mine while he's looking. I was actually out filming with Finding Bigfoot
Oh,
when
good story. Yeah.
me and the camera guy witnessed a white ball of light that was about the size of a soccer ball or volleyball coming towards us. It looked just like a headlamp. It wasn't bobbing, but it looked just like a headlamp. And we thought that because the night was still fairly young, we thought somebody was bringing us batteries. So we didn't think anything of it until all of a sudden it darts off the road we were on, and it goes over this embankment that is roughly like 1,100 to 1,200 feet to the bottom of the mountain because we're up on the ridge, and it's not an incline that you can actually walk down. And this thing went off like you would be sprinting. It started off really fast. And I stopped in my tracks and I said, "What in the world was that?" And the camera guy stayed kind of quiet. And Cliff Barrickman was there, and he was like, "What? What'd you see? What'd you see? What'd you see?" He was really hoping that we had seen a Bigfoot. And I said, "I don't even want to talk about what I just saw. I did not sign up for this. I did not want to see this." And he was like, "What was it? What was it? Just say it. Just say it." And I told him what it was a ball of light. And he was like, "Oh, well, I know one thing, and I've heard enough stories about the will o' the wisp to know that we should not follow that." So we didn't. And it never made it into the show because, that was, the show is called Finding Bigfoot, not Finding Orbs. And that's what we found. So it was, then Ron and I, 2 years later, went back. We found the exact location where this encounter took place during the daylight hours. And we had another weird thing happen to us while we were there.
Yeah.
You're going to have to wait for that video.
Well, I still don't even know what that was. I mean, it's
Yeah, it
so
was just
hard
weird
to even talk about, honestly. But we definitely, I mean, something happened. And as best that I can describe it is,
Pat says, "Do you think that the glowing orange orbs are associated with Bigfoot or just a bunch of Rastafoot standing around burning one?"
maybe, man. I think that the best way to describe it was that we had a temporal anomaly.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. We have a lot of temporal anomalies, by the way. That's a common thing.
Mike says, "Of all the people to be there, Cliff, awesome story, brother." Yeah, Cliff is actually a really, really good friend of ours. I talk to him on a regular basis. He's a great guy. Really, really good friend too.
So the next orb thing we saw was, and I don't know how to explain this one. This is the one that after the deep end.
Real quick before we go there, Cliff was glassing with his thermal imager in another direction. He did not witness it, and to this day, like I wish he would have saw it because he's never seen something like that in the woods, and it happened while he was standing right there. But me and the camera guy, we both saw it, and we talked to Bobo about it. We talked to everybody about it. But yeah, go ahead, Ron. To the deep end.
The deep end, yeah. So we were behind the deep end antiques, and there's a spooky area up there. The whole area is spooky, but we were behind this area in a particularly spooky place where, weird things are said to happen. And as we're looking up onto this hillside, we see I guess it would look like a very small pinpoint of light, almost like a star.
Well,
in fact, that's what we thought it was at first.
We did. But for physical reference, for anybody who knows, I've been racking my brain forever on this. And I came up with the idea when my wife turned on some of our Halloween lights. If you could isolate a single fairy light on a light strand, it was about that big.
Yeah, it was. That's exactly what it was. And it was far out.
Oh, yeah. It was way out. But that's about how big it was.
The weird thing is, it just seemed like it was farther away, yet it wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
That was the weird thing. And, of course,
because the hillside. So explain the orientation.
What's on a hillside? I mean, that's the whole thing. So it couldn't be in the sky. That's because we'd sit there and debunked it over and over again. And I'm like, are you sure that's not in the sky? Or often associated with orbs. Well, it's a good question, actually, because there was definitely something back there. No, but that area was associated with a lot of weird ritualistic
Yes.
weird stuff.
Yes.
And so it could be anything, man, honestly.
And honestly, I think the reason that area was associated with all that weirdness was because that area is already weird without the weirdness
It was, yeah.
being done there.
Mhm.
Like
It was.
there's something going on there.
Yeah. So we had that old incident. We had the other incident would have been when we were filming with Seth.
Yeah.
You guys saw the light
Up on the hillside, yeah.
On the hillside, yeah. I didn't see that, but you guys did see that, and there's like 3 of you saw it. So can't say that wasn't something. And then I did manage to capture this little video right here. Yeah. So Glenn said he saw a shadow go across, and he's like, "Well, take the thermal and go through there." And as I go through, well, you can see what we pick up right here. And it just disappears, and it'll come right back.
And now this is a thermal signature.
Yeah, this is heat, so there's nothing visible. We also have a camera on this, and there's nothing out there. We have an actual full spectrum camera on it, so there's nothing out there. There's no infrared given off. It's just heat. This is heat. And it's pretty warm because it actually tracked it right there for a second. You had the green target.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Joe went out there to look for this thing, and he's about 20 or so yards away from it, and it just disappears. And at the time it disappears, he says, "Oh, it's right here."
Yeah, and I thought it was a baby possum because what I could see
Yep,
coming
you're
through
right
the
there.
moonlight, because we had a beautiful full moon that night.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
And it was really low on the horizon, so it was shining directly at where we were, and I could see what looked like possum hair. You know, those really fine longer hairs that stick off of the possum that's really white or gray. It was coming through that, and I could have swore it was a possum. I thought it was a little baby possum that had been abandoned. So as you do, I was going to pick it up and put it in my pocket and bring it home. They're marsupials. They like pouches.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yeah, we saw a weird deer up there the first time it didn't move too, Teresa.
Bigfoot Littlefoot said reported an orb on your page back June 22nd, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Then what you were referencing, Teresa saw that weird deer that wouldn't move. It was a really strange area there. Like we saw a doorknob turn.
It's weird. We saw a doorknob turn that didn't turn.
Yeah.
That's what we saw. And
yeah.
we saw it through a weird gaseous distortion field. The best way, temporal anomaly.
Yeah, some kind of weird temporal anomaly.
Yeah.
So Mike said, "Oh, that sucks." The reason I say that is because I know how hardcore Cliff is flesh and blood. Nothing against that. I just wish he could have seen it too. I wish he could have seen it as well. And I'm also a flesh and blood guy. But there's something else going on out in the forest, and I'm fully aware of that at this point, where I used to reject it and deny it, and wouldn't necessarily deny it, but like I was just like saying these people are trying to connect these dots, and they're trying to answer questions with more questions, and I just didn't really like that. But now the more we've actually actively looked towards that phenomena, we ourselves have come to the conclusion, and the data points in the direction that there are multiple phenomena occurring in our woods and in our forests, and they're occurring at the same times. Are they related? We can't say for sure. Is it a weird phenomena that they are occurring at the same time?
Yes.
Yes.
There is a X factor that is related, whether it be them or whether something's watching them at the same time. Teresa, look what she just said. Look there. Look at that.
There's been a theory going around lately about why this state is so weird, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense to me. Some people are actually thinking that maybe all of the coal mining activity has gone underground and broken into something and released something up to the surface that's ancient.
That's a great plot for a movie, but
Well,
I mean, I guess that's possible, but you know,
Something that would be that powerful wouldn't necessarily need to be released.
yeah, that's what
You know
I'm
what I mean?
thinking. You know.
Like I think the fact that so much stuff happens here that is so weird as it is because this mountain range that we live in has existed since before Pangea was a thing.
yeah.
If you go back 750 million years ago, Appalachia was standing above the water.
And Scotland
You
was
know?
connected to us.
Yeah, and West Africa and all of that. So now Teresa says she saw a doorknob turn too on one of the motel doors, and that's what we saw. It was on a motel door. Teresa, so you know the one that you guys went in and investigated that's directly behind the shop? We were outside looking at the one that would be perpendicular. So if the shop is located right here, you guys are investigating back here. We saw a doorknob turn over here.
Yeah, it's the far side. As you were looking from the old storage place
Yeah.
that he had, and then now it's looking, down the way toward the new one. But
Yes.
it was that wall of it was the wall straight ahead there. And yeah, one of those doors was definitely moving.
Ashley says, I'm a flesh and blood believer. However, I think something parades as Bigfoot, though. Yeah, it could be parading around, or it could be something else entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the other sighting reports we've stated hundreds of times, I think now at this point on the show, is like their proportions don't match. They don't match your typical sighting report. Like the arms are way longer, more lanky,
Exactly.
more sparse hair.
That's not, yeah, exactly. That's not a flesh and blood anything.
Yeah.
But like she says right there, even when you find Bigfoot, the woo sightings won't disappear.
They
She's
won't.
right, because it's something completely different.
Pat says flesh and blood Wookiee with a teleporter.
Yep, still sticking by it, right, bud?
The dwarves dug too greedily and dug too deep. That's right. That's right. That is exactly how they unleashed the
Balrog,
the wrath of Morgoth. And we got the Balrog.
Fly, you fools.
Appalachia is older than Saturn's rings. Yeah. Yep. Pat says, I'm a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. The one we saw was the one behind the daycare.
Okay.
So it would have been attached to the building that he's in.
Yeah.
Michael says, I often wonder if people in the Bigfoot suits just have a wonder schedule, or do they just stalk Bigfoot stalkers? It's one, I think if people were doing that in a Bigfoot suit, that's a really dumb thing to do, because people go out into the forest armed.
Man, it's dangerous. I would not do that.
I wonder how many times researchers go in the woods and knock on trees, and it's actually two researchers on different sides of the woods knocking at each other.
Oh yeah, and that's been proven before. Because they've been recording, and like different research teams would report knocks on the same night, and then they confer their times and what they were doing. They found out that they were communicating with themselves. I mean, and that does happen. That does happen.
It do.
Humans are big apes after all.
It do happen.
Well,
I mean, it's 100% fact, right?
Mike says, I'm kind of in both parties. I believe Bigfoot is flesh and blood, but there's something else paranormal going on too. Yep. It's kind of where we're at too.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at this point.
Tommy says, so what part of the state do you all have your Bigfoot experience in? Well, so for those of you guys who don't know where we are located physically, we are West Virginia based, but we cover our shows way bigger than just West Virginia topics. But the where we conduct the majority of our research is in the coal fields. We've been up in the Sutton area one time, but essentially everything south of Flatwoods we cover. So
wherever it be, pretty much. But that's the funny thing about the whole Bigfoot thing. You just never know where it's going to be.
Yeah.
And when we do our workshops, I was talking about this not too long ago. I was like, man, I hate every time we go to one of these, we actually find something, because it looks like, it looks questionable. But then you have, 20, 30 people who are experiencing it. It's like, well, they didn't do anything. They're vouching for you. But then I'm starting to feel like Greer. And then I'm like, well, this is not good. But then I start thinking about, well, we have our workshops in places that have previous activity. And then I have to look at the possibility, as we had Glenn come in and explain to us about the whole intention thing. Well, you've got 25 people there, and they're all thinking, you know, Bigfoot. They're all thinking, you know, I want to have an experience. Somewhere inside their heads, they're all thinking this, or they wouldn't be there, right? And you have to wonder, is that kind of causing some of this stuff? Is that kind of manifesting what's going on out there? I don't know. I mean, quantum Bigfoot may have something to do with that, as far as I know.
Yeah.
We may be creating our own reality out there, right?
And, you know, there's a lot of native tradition that speaks of these creatures walking between both worlds.
Yep, that's right.
So until we've got one on a slab somewhere, it's everything on the table.
So what you're saying is Bigfoot is a planeswalker.
That's what they referred to it as. A lot of tribes did, man. They said that he could walk between worlds. He'd be there 1 second, gone the next. Ashley says Bigfoot is just a big fan of the show and he wants to meet you guys. Right?
I think I met him once and it didn't go.
Let's arrange that meeting.
So he could come on though. I mean, we'll interview him. It'd be great.
But yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen tonight, and this is wonderful for those who haven't been really just, if you've been caught up in it, you're not really paying it full attention. What we've seen tonight is we've seen a lot of people recounting their experiences, and we have not seen one single person dismiss them.
Right.
That's important. That's what we need to keep seeing. We've seen people maybe offer an explanation, but we haven't seen anyone say, nope, you're crazy. You didn't see that. And you don't. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see that kind of interaction. We want to see that across the board, not just on our stuff. We want to see that across the board. I want people to be able to tell their stories without any fear of repercussion. That's why we do what we do.
Well, Dee, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for coming on, and you guys have good luck this weekend when you're out doing your investigation, and report back next week and let us know how it went.
Yeah, let us know what happens.
You know, it's spooky season. If you guys want to actually come on the show and talk about it, we'll send you a link and you can jump on the show and give your report live.
Exactly.
Hey, if you guys want to, I can share my experience when I saw a UFO about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up.
Yep. So real quick, Tommy said, I never actually hunted for Bigfoot around here, not hunting like to shoot them, but go looking for them. I have enough experience in running into them without trying. Yeah.
That's normal, bud. That's what I'm saying. When I said that you have, whatever happened to you probably did make you more prone to being able to interpret whatever that is and kind of tuning into that world, so to speak. I believe that you don't have to go looking for it. In fact, we've found more stuff when we're not looking for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fact. You can go watch our documentaries over here on the channel. You go back and watch some of the actual documentaries where we're out there looking for stuff. We're looking for something else when something else always seems to show up. That's that subject A-B thing. We talk about that a lot in our presentations. And it's almost become a fact at this point. When we go out looking for one thing, something else says, nah, look over here, look at this. It draws us kind of away from it. So yeah, you don't have to look for it to find it.
Yeah, man. We don't think you're crazy. Definitely not here. So just wanted to give you some affirmation there. You're welcome here, and welcome to tell your encounters anytime, man. Because you're never gonna get shot down.
You know, Tommy, one of the things about it is, I mean, I think that we have probably some of the best thermal footage that may validate what people are calling Bigfoot. That's a fact. And I'm not the one who said that. That's other researchers who have said that.
Yep.
And it doesn't help. It helps when certain people look at it because they're like, oh yeah, it kind of looks like what I saw, and it validates them. I think that's what it's for. But any amount of video, audio, thermal, anything we get is never going to be enough to sway some of these people who are just hell bent on not believing, and they're not going to. There's nothing we can do to make it. But yeah, it's out there. There's something out there.
Ashley says, I was trying to get my daughter to come on and tell her story when we saw a thunder crow, but she's too nervous. Maybe one day. Oh, come on, kid.
You can do it. This is a good place to do it if you're
Yep.
ever going to do it. Trust me. Oh, you're very welcome, Tommy.
Anytime,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that footage is over there. It's I don't know where it's at, but it's here
There's
somewhere.
2 different videos.
Yeah, there's 2 videos
have it,
with that
yeah.
footage. Actually, let me find the.
Mike
I
says,
think I'll
also,
get
you
the
don't
link.
need photos to prove you're not crazy. Trying to get a great photo will probably drive you crazy.
Yes.
That is a fact.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah,
But-
Mike, we appreciate you chiming in there with that, just giving those extra affirmations that people, nobody here thinks you're crazy, and
No.
you might feel it at times that you are, but it's because you're chasing something that is so elusive, that's so capable at avoiding us at all costs, that it talking about trying to get a photo, man.
Well, I mean, we weren't, and that's the that's the thing. I think if we were out there actually trying to do it, we wouldn't have got it. That's what I think. I think that this is something that if you're trying to do it, you're probably not going to get it.
Yeah.
But if you're going out there and you're just like, you're there and you got the right equipment, well, you might get lucky. And that's kind of what happened to us. We just got lucky. It was a 1 in a million shot. I don't think that would ever happen again.
Teresa says, Ashley, maybe I can get my son to tell his Mothman sighting the same day and they can go on together for moral support. Absolutely. We would facilitate that in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, for sure, guys. Here we go. I got it. I'll put this over here for you guys. You can go check that out. That, I believe, has the thermal data in it. I think.
She actually brought it up while we were sitting here, and I told her to go on and tell her story, and that's okay, but she remembers it. She got into Thunderbirds after that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you have an experience like that, you tend to get interested in that to try to rationalize it, to try to make it make sense. And this is better than anybody, Ashley.
Yep.
For anybody who doesn't know, Ashley is the host of On Wednesday When We Talk Weird, and she's an investigator as well, and has a ton of research herself that we're hopefully eventually going to be all talking about together soon.
Yep, it's going to be a good episode. It's coming soon. It's going to be part of the spooky season. So.
And guys, Ron just dropped the link in there for you all for the thermal footage. Pat says, I'm going out to go find Bigfoot with a comb and a brush and a bottle of D8 Angler. I think that's my best shot.
There you go. It might work.
I've been trying to get y'all show. Like Mothman Festival, but owner of a business is a great thing, but a busy thing. My kids love all things Mothman and Bigfoot. Well, you're going to have plenty of opportunities next year because, again, we're hosting more events as well next year. And we understand being the owner of a small business and not having time and trying to work things out around families. So you don't have to apologize for anything. We get that 100%, man.
Yeah, it's another reason we do these kind of things because we realize a lot of people can't get out to the shows,
And we keep them free.
We try to
Because
keep
of
this
people
free.
like Larry,
Because people
and
like
Scott,
Larry and Scott,
Ada and Nancy and Adam Good
Oh,
and
look at
Teresa's
those.
Haunted History.
Yeah.
And
Do you have them all memorized at this
I
point?
almost do. And
Every time we get one, we got to add a new one. So did we get any new ones tonight? I gotta make sure.
Dewey Edwards. I left off the
Dewey.
Deuster
Don't
somehow.
leave off
James
Dewey.
Boggs, Spooky Appalachia, Larry Hose, Guitar Chains Craig,
Gotta find out where
Travis
he's
Rednick,
been.
Jeffrey Steele, Russ Bailey, Chris Coots, Ada Cox Nancy, Scott.
Yep. So
You
far, we're
guys.
up to date. We're up to date. They're the ones who make it possible.
Ashley
for you
says,
guys
if
to
it's
do it.
free, it's for me. That's exactly right.
There you go.
And these folks those are the folks that we just read off. Those are the folks that keep
They're
this show
keeping
free
it
for
free.
everybody, including us.
Yep.
Like, that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is these shows cost money to host,
They do.
and the people that we just named off, Teresa,
She got her soup.
all those folks that we just named off are who keep it free for all of you and us, because it takes off that expense off of our shoulders and allows us to be able to put that money towards research and towards development of new stuff and upgrades and all these things.
And to keep the lives going. But one of the things I would like to do would be to actually, get these people who are on that list, something like sent out every now and again.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Something, that would be a really cool thing to do. I know that we have the option of doing that membership thing, but I don't want to do that. I like it the way that it is right now. That way everybody gets it and they decide if it's worth it, which is exactly what they do. And they're like, oh yeah, well, I like this episode. It's worth $5. I would pay that for a magazine. So here you go. That's kind of like what it's, what it's kind of like. So, I paid a lot for a magazine. I just bought one for $15 the other day, but what was the Jimmy the Life edition? I had to have it. So,
Oh man. Well,
if you ever come up to my country to do a show, there you go.
Hey, always having those doors open are great, man. We appreciate you. You guys sound like me now. Oh, you send me money to support me. Let me spend money to give you gifts. Yeah, and that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Larry actually got mad at us. He came down to help us with the Mall Mound Festival, and he was like, "Oh no, y'all can't. I don't need this. I don't need it." And I'm like, no.
Yep, that's exactly how it works. It all goes back, and it should. It's going to go back either into the actual physical program, or it's going to go back into a shoot out there, or a product that you guys can get. Yeah, it's something to that nature.
Yep, but, absolutely.
Always has been, always will be. We used to do that back in the reptile days. So
we did.
Yeah, this is all the same old business model.
So Brandon, before we wrap her up, go ahead and close us out with your story.
Brandon, do you want me to play the theremin while you do this?
Sure.
Okay, hang on.
Here we go. Spooky, weird music. I love it.
I found it. Oh, I don't see it, Brandon.
Oh, he can't find it.
Okay, you go on.
Never mind.
You could play some spooky background music.
Maybe I can do some spooky stuff on the flute. I don't know.
There you go.
I'll try this. This is
play the X-Files theme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll do a recorder. There we go. This will be better. I can get a higher pitch on this.
Is this a recorder?
This is, yeah. Go ahead, Brandon. I'm just going to...
Okay.
You got to set the scene for me.
So it was the fall of 2012. I was sitting by myself in a truck. It was a clear night. I just happened to be looking at the skies, probably listening to Coast to Coast AM. And I see something streaking across the sky, and I thought it was a comet or something. Until it stopped.
When you said you saw something streaking across the...
you've already lost me on this one right here. Comets don't streak across the sky. That's a knee-jerk reaction.
Whatever.
Meteorite, Brandon. Continue your story.
Okay.
Editor.
It could have been a Mothman for all I know.
See, I like this better. I like that version better. Continue, Brandon.
And a chunk of rock flew across the sky, and at least what I thought was a chunk of rock.
Brandon is trying to tell a serious story. And it's just...
Go ahead, Brandon.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Spooky flute, good ambiance.
So it stopped. I was like, what, did that thing stop? And then my brain was like, oh, that's a UFO. So I actually was like, I remember moving around trying to get a better look at it. And it was actually football shaped, and it was silver. And the moon was actually shining off of it. It had like a little bit of a shine to it. And it just sat there for probably a couple of minutes. And I remember just like, I had a panic attack kick in because I was like, is this thing looking at me? Are they watching me? Are they going to come after me? And after it eventually shot straight up, vertically straight up, and was gone. And that's when I took off in my truck and basically hid in the building I was working in. Because, that's logical with aliens. But the same thing happened again. Yeah. But the same exact thing happened, like probably 2 or 3 weeks later, in almost the same spot. I was sitting there and saw it happen again. It was pretty weird. That's probably the best sighting I've ever had, where I had such a clear view of it.
And now, where were you? Was this in Lincoln County or was it
It was in Mingo County.
Mingo County? Okay.
Yeah, not far from Kentucky.
Yeah, so you're down there around like McCarr, Matewan area.
As a crow flies, probably about a mile from Kermit.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly where Kermit's at. So, and there's nothing in the sky that would have given that kind of semblance because there wasn't even any light pollution in the sky down that way.
No, I remember what I thought was like a trail behind it. I think it was actually an after image. It was moving so quick. That's just what my eye was translating it as.
Yeah.
'Cause
Brandon,
when it stopped, it went away.
what?
Tony says, wasn't this episode about not mocking?
Not Brandon. Brandon.
Yeah, guys.
What do you remember before that happened? Like right before that happened.
I just remember sitting in the truck and just listening to something.
Why were you?
That's
Why
what
were
I-
you there? What were you doing?
I was working.
You were working. So you just like what? Took a break? Is that kind of thing?
No, I was a security guard, and we had to go check on equipment and stuff. So I was just
Gotcha.
sitting up there for a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what made you focus in that area? What happened? Did you just notice the light, or were you already looking in that direction when it shot
Well,
through?
That area had a really good clear view of the sky. I just like to sit up there and just sky watch.
So it just kind of shot through as you were looking. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And how did it disappear?
It shot straight up, like vertically shot straight up.
Mm-hmm. So it comes over, right, and then goes
Mhm.
straight up. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you remember it stopping?
Yeah.
Remember it stopping,
Mhm.
and then it immediately shot straight up.
No, it was like maybe a couple minutes at the most. It sat there.
When it stopped, what did you think?
Well, first I was like, well, that's no meteor, comet, or anything. That has to be a UFO. And then that was when I started panicking.
Okay, so you did have a panic reaction at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you know what time it was?
It was late at night. It was probably like past midnight. It's probably like 1 a.m. or so. Maybe even later than that.
So you weren't really aware of any time passage, so we couldn't say between point A and point B that there may be something missing, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because who would, right? Because what you described is a pretty typical thing. The light comes over, it stops. People see the craft. They hear this a million times. They'll see the craft, right? And then the next memory they have, it's leaving, or it's shooting off, or it's just not there. What happened? You know, was there something that happened between that when it stopped and then took off? Because a lot of people are like, well, why do they do that? Why would they come down, hover a little bit, and then take off? Well, they probably didn't. That's
Yeah,
the
that
problem.
explains why I was so afraid of it being there all of a sudden.
So why? Yeah, exactly. So that was what I was saying. This is one of those subconscious fear responses. So that would entail that you need to look back a little bit in your past and see if there's anything there that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah, there's one. When I was a little kid, I remember I woke up on the opposite side of my bed, and my button-up pajamas were on backwards.
Okay, there you go. This is what I'm talking about. So,
Well-
okay. So, do you remember any? That whole question I always ask the audience, the members. Particular place in the house that brought you any more anxiety than any others? Anything like that?
Yeah, usually it's the bedroom.
Okay. All right. What part of the bedroom? I'm already guessing now.
Exactly in the bed. Yeah.
It's in the bed itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just the bed itself. That's
Mhm.
a new one. I usually don't get that. It's usually a closet or
closet.
a corner. Yeah. So the bed itself actually brought you anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah, I have sleep paralysis too sometimes.
Oh yeah, this is good. So, yeah, man, that's what I'm trying to say. These things,
Hey,
And
if you
then,
want some more weird facts, I'm green-eyed and I have typo negative blood.
you know, yeah,
Aliens.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that what Brandon just said is exactly what that 25% fall into.
So
Exactly.
Ashley asked a question about its sighting. Did it go
Oh,
up like it appeared to you that went up, or did it go up like it became smaller and smaller until it disappeared?
It just appeared to go up. Like I just saw that after image effect again as it just zoomed up. Just,
think about that, Brandon.
yeah.
No, really, think about that. Like you didn't see it get smaller. It just like
Mm-mm.
disappeared, wasn't there.
Yeah, basically.
So, again, this is typical with a lot of people. And
Ashley asks, "What's your?" We did this actually live on the show one day.
Mm-hmm.
yep, you'll have to go back and look at it. I can't remember what yours was. It might have been three.
I was one of those weird anomaly numbers.
I can't remember. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
we
mine.
did
I
all.
think mine was 3 or 4.
I think it was three, Brandon, but I'm not going to swear to it. We'll have to go back and look at that episode. It's a numerology episode. It's a really good episode. Um, so what I'm saying, Bud, is this. Um, it falls into the lines of a possible scenario, yes, but you need to, could go back and look at your own thing. I don't need to tell you anything. This has taken me literally, I mean, God, 40 some years of, being in
You know
this.
what's funny is like now that you mention it, like a year later, me and my ex had moved into another place, and
Yeah,
I had started experiencing sleep paralysis hardcore in that place.
yeah,
Like I remember, I worked a later shift job, so I was usually asleep until like noon to get up for work, and I remember waking up and the sun was shining through the blinds and I couldn't move anything and my head was stuck to the side and I was terrified.
yeah,
I can remember my heart was beating so loud I could hear it in my ears.
yeah. So, you know, one of the reasons I never really wanted to go out there was, well, I didn't want to put out, my story for people to make fun of, which hasn't happened. And honest to God, at this point, I don't care. But back then I did. Um, but I also didn't want to influence someone else because I'm not going to be the next Gray Barker or John Keel when it comes to telling you, this happened or that happened. But I am going to tell you that you need to investigate that yourself and you need to look deeper if you want to. But be mindful of this. And this is the big warning to every single one of you who are still listening. If you open that door, be prepared. And
For
believe
what
me,
comes out.
yeah, you aren't prepared. I can tell you right now. You may think you are not prepared. It takes a very long time, and you're dealing with something that is so. The word is alien because it truly is beyond anything that you could comprehend typically.
Well,
So
you remember
just
that dream I told you I
be
had like a
careful.
little over a year ago where I was in that craft?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell the audience again.
Yeah.
I had a dream that I was looking through a window, and I remember the floor was made out of this
Mm-hmm.
this plain looking metal, like steel or something. And I was looking out the window, and I remember feeling completely naked. And I was looking at the earth, and it was getting increasingly smaller and smaller. I remember I yelled out, "Ah, crap! I'm on a UFO!" And I remember there were other people standing around me, and they started reacting the same way. And then when I did that, I was awake. And I remember feeling horrified when I woke up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you're whatever it is, you're in the state to where honestly, if you're feeling that horror, you're feeling that anxiety, it's probably not the best thing to look into, in my personal opinion. That's you know, because there are stages to this, and the final stage is actually acceptance. It really is, and then you're like, oh well, we didn't have to go through all that, but yeah, you kind of did to get there. So it can be a long time. I'm just going to tell you right now. It could be a very long time.
Ashley says you can research, you can investigate, you can believe, but it doesn't become real until it's real.
Yeah.
I've thought about like doing some kind of like hypnosis to see.
Oh, I will never do it.
No.
Nope. I've been asked multiple times. Nope, absolutely not. I'm good. I have my recall of what I remembered. That's enough to as validation for me, and that's all that you really need is validation for yourself to know that you didn't dream it, that there is something going on, and that's fine. That's good because I think that's the purpose of this. I think it is validation, you know, and multiple validations, and that's what we use for any of our other experiences that we go out
Yeah.
and try to record, right, Joe? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same kind of thing. We go out and we do a ghost investigation. We have multiple equipment going on because we want multiple validation. It's the same thing with these experiences. One experience by itself means absolutely zip. It's just a really cool story. But if you sit here and tell me something, and you did, and I'm hearing it and I'm like, yeah, that sounds familiar. I shouldn't, that shouldn't sound familiar to me, yet it does. And then, vice versa. Something I said may sound familiar to somebody else. That's multiple validation. And I think that is the key to understanding some of this phenomena. I'm just going to close basically on this by saying, fear is a human construct.
Mm-hmm.
And it is you trying to rationalize something that just simply should not be there. It's like, even now, years later, 40 some years later, if I had this conversation not too long ago, like, I'm downstairs, and when I'm downstairs, for whatever reason, I always have this anxiety of looking over my shoulders, like something's going to be standing there, and I'm like, well, if that were an alien, a true, honest to goodness, little gray, alien, or the taller one, whichever, even my teacher, so to speak, if that were one of them, and I turned around, I know that it's going to scare the living crap out of me. There's no way around it because that's the human response. I can't get beyond that because it looks so different. It shouldn't be there, is what you tell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're never prepared. What she just said, absolutely. It's exactly what it is. You are never prepared. And it is how your brain processes it. And you can tell yourself 100 times, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm good. This is going to be cool. It's all fine. No, it won't be. Fear is a human construct, and it's part of what you are. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't interact with whatever's going on. That just means that if you're talking about, you're going to sit here face to face, it's still going to scare the living crap out of you. It doesn't matter. Even if you are communicating back and forth, you're still going to have this fear response until you are actually in that place. And when you're in that place, it's different. Then it's emotion, and that's completely different. And yeah.
I've seen some people ask why I brought it up about green eyes and my blood type. Those are just two really common things with experiencers, and nobody really knows why exactly.
Yeah, they don't have a clue what that's all about. No,
There's also something else with the blood. What is it, Ron? The haplotype or something?
Well, that's what that is.
Yeah, you're talking about the haplotype. You're talking about Rh negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I don't know what I am.
Yeah.
I'll have to check next time I donate blood.
Yeah, it's the blood. Basically, it's the strain that just appeared out of nowhere. It didn't evolve. It just literally shows up at some point in our past.
Yeah, isn't there like an abnormal amount of people in like Belgium or something that have it?
It's Sweden.
Sweden?
Is it Sweden? Yeah. I
Sweden
don't know. I
and
remember
Norway
it's one of
both
them.
have.
Yeah. It's one of them.
Sweden and
Bigfoot.
Norway both have a really high number of Rh negative blood types, and nobody knows where it came from or why they're Rh negative, because everybody else has that rhesus gene.
Not wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is if you think about it. But yeah. So Brandon, the ball's in your court, so to speak. And,
Angie's also Rh neg.
Oh.
So you guys are going to be at the paranormal workshop, right?
Bait.
Remember how?
I was at the Bigfoot workshop, so
Remember-
and you know what happened there.
That's what I'm saying. Remember how we learned from the best. They used to bait the phenomena according to
Yep.
some of those early
Poke the bear.
BASS
Sure,
reports.
go ahead, use me as bait.
Hey,
At least I'll get to come along.
he might
Guys,
return.
This has been a blast of a show.
It's been a great show. You guys absolutely did a great job. Let me go and check the numbers. I want to see what we do on our account as far as comments. This is a little fun thing I like to do.
And Tommy, you can share this to any page you want to, even if they're the pages that want to try to attack it.
Oh, heck yeah. We don't care.
We don't care. Let them come.
We've moved so beyond that at this point, my
Yeah.
friend. It honestly just doesn't matter anymore. This is about community, and the people who want to be here will be here, and that's the way I see it. And we see the same people coming every Thursday. They may not be able to stay all 2 hours, but they'll come in and they'll say hi, and they'll be part of the community a little bit, and then sometimes they'll come back, just like Ashley did tonight. Where are you guys at? I'm trying to find the comments. Yeah. Well, come on. So yeah, feel free to leave a few comments over there in the comment section. If you had any experiences, whatnot, if you have any ideas for future shows, anything you want us to cover, you got any questions, feel free, ask. That's because we'll definitely address that. Oh yeah, you guys did a great job. We had around 472, it looks like 472 comments active right now, so that's pretty awesome. I know that our new baseline's around the 450 mark now, and every now and again we'll get up to 500 and 600, but yeah, it tends to be around 400 or so. Oh yeah.
My mom was Rh negative with green eyes. Apparently inherited too much from my dad's side, and brown eyes A positive. My kid is O positive, but he's the world's most indistinct eye color. Yeah, my kids have a really indistinct eye color too. Ash's are kind of like a violety brown.
Yeah.
But Rowan's Rowan's got green, brown, blue, gray, all mixed in there. My grandpa was RH. My grandpa was Rh negative. Is Rh negative. He's still alive. But yeah, guys, this has been a fantastic show. Thank you for all the support. Thank you once again to all the super chatters jumping in here, keeping the show free for eons and eons to come. Brandon, thanks for sharing your story.
Brandon, fantastic story. Absolutely fantastic story.
And huge shout out to everybody else who shared their story.
Absolutely. But yeah, if you want to go further with that, we can
get down there. We'll all pile up in the truck and run down there to that area. We can get right down in the smack where it was, within reason where the fences are.
Well, I think that's a part of it, guys. I think that some of these experiences.
I just remembered something. So when I told you I was scared, this memory
it was because the
back
curly
to me.
butt hair, wasn't it?
No, but it will tonight.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
When I told you I was scared, I just remembered I laid down in the seat of the truck, and at one point I actually crawled into the floorboard. I was that scared.
Oh wow!
See, that's not natural. That's not rational.
Yeah, that's a
reason
huge
for
fear
that.
response.
That's
like
a post-traumatic stress disorder type thing, a subconscious version. So that's what I'm saying. But what I was getting at, guys, is I have reason to believe that some of these experiences may be sort of time locked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, the place remains the same, and you may be actually able to make contact in those places. You see, it may have to do with the place, is what I'm getting at. Yeah. That's just an idea I've been working on for a while now. All right, kids, that's enough weird talk for this week. And besides, you want to talk weird, go listen to Ashley. She has a show that actually called that. So don't you don't have to listen
yeah.
to us. They
go
talk
check
weird
out on Wednesday. We talk weird. Go check out Spooky Appalachia.
Yeah. Go check out some different people. Thank you for being here, though.
Yes.
And we'll be back here next Thursday, 8 p.m. Also, tomorrow night, the very first episode of the Spooktacular will drop. And it's kind of a pre-show. It's going to kind of introduce you to stuff. We talk a lot about the news and whatnot. And you're going to learn a lot about the spirits in my head.
Yep. And my obsession with strange yokai doing weird stuff yet again. But enjoy till tomorrow. You guys are awesome. Huge shout out to all the super chatters one more time. You guys are what keep this show free for eons and eons to come. All the folks who shared your story, we appreciate each and every one of you guys so much. We can't even begin to say thank you enough. That you trust this place and you feel safe enough in this place to come and share your encounters with us. I know how to say thank you.
That works.
But yeah, like Pat says, it's closing time. You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here, baby. Yep. So until next time, remember, if you're cruising around out in the forest and you see an orb or Bigfoot or an orb and a Bigfoot, try not to follow it. You don't know what's going to happen. Could be weird. Could have curly butt hair. Stay wild and weird, everybody.
So wrong sometimes.